Sometimes dead is better.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? It is Nate with Gimme Back My Horror Movies. And with me, as always, is Charlie. Say hello, Charlie.
It's me. I'm here.
And Charlie, guess what I found at the bottom of a trash bag?
What'd you find at the bottom of trash? Did a dog bring something into the house?
You know, it wasn't like just the trash bag. It was like the what seeps underneath the trash bag and hits the can itself. And that like sewage that just kind of lays there for a bit.
Why would you bring that in the house?
Well, it's not in the house, but you take it outside, you know,
Oh, okay.
through the garage.
Well,
It's Pete.
No.
I found him.
Yes, my triumphant return. Hello, gentlemen. So
Where'd you
good to be back.
go?
I have been incredibly busy with the band. We've been playing a lot, and yeah, that's my. I'm not going to say it's an excuse, but that's what's been happening. I've been very
I
busy with the
just
band.
have assumed you've been on vacation, a sabbatical.
Oh, there was a vacation rolled in there somewhere. For
somewhere in there.
Mhm.
Okay.
I thought he went to Hollywood to pitch all of our awesome movie ideas.
That
That's
too.
kind of what I was
Sure.
hoping.
I got 2 fanfics just ready to go.
That's it, man. That's it. But as we have said before, we fully support Pete on all of his external ventures, especially this one with the Nacho Street Band. Another plug for those guys.
Yeah.
If you don't follow them, please do on Facebook, Instagram, and
Yeah.
support.
Yeah, we raised money for Nationwide Children's Hospital and the Ronald McDonald House. We are on a 3-year campaign to raise $100,000 for the $3 million renovation of the Ronald McDonald House. We broke 20 grand a couple of weeks ago, and we're booked through October. So
That's awesome.
yeah, it's been a very good year. We are playing in Grove City tomorrow, and then we've got like 3 next week. So it's
I
just,
love
it keeps
that
coming.
you sent me the invite for tomorrow, and I'm like, I got my work outing. I can't make it.
Whoa! That
Somehow,
late?
some
That late at night?
way, 2 people always have. Yeah, like mine's
Oh,
going
shit.
pretty late. That live
There'll
in
be more.
Columbus have a hard time meeting up when it comes to seeing your band play. The last one, we had the tsunami come in.
Oh yeah, that was we got rained out last Saturday. Pretty.
And then the
Some-
one I was
some
supposed to
fierce.
be there, I got COVID.
You got
know,
COVID.
it's
Yeah.
just never been any good, but we'll all work it out soon. Nate
One of these
actually
days.
will be visiting me here very
Yes,
soon.
I'm so
Very
jealous.
Yes. Well, Pete had an invite. Pete had a place to stay, but he can't do it.
Playing with the band or something stupid like that. Yeah,
He's
We're
got
gonna
to
go-
make money for the children.
yeah. We're going
Won't
down to
somebody please think of the children.
we're going down to OSU campus and doing something called busking, and that's basically running
Oh,
from
that's gonna be
tailgate to
sweet.
tailgate, begging for money and playing music
Nice.
during Ohio State or during the tailgate part of Ohio State Notre Dame. It's going to be a whole lot of people down there
That's going
with
to
a
be
whole
a
lot of money
And a whole lot of drinking. We'll loosen those wallets.
taken care of. Yeah, usually.
Fantastic, man. Fantastic. Well, Pete, it's great to have you back.
Yes,
I
I'm
missed you, Pete.
genuinely
glad you're
excited.
back.
I don't know about this movie, but yes, I'm very excited to be back.
Let
Nope.
it be known at the record
Nope.
show, this is a Charlie pick.
This is
Yes.
mine. This is mine.
Charlie picked this movie, and I looked at the cover and went, well, what is this, direct-to-video Drop Dead Fred?
Yeah. You're not the first person to make that correlation among other correlations. So yeah, we are covering 1994 Brainscan starring Edward Furlong. And so we usually pick movies that we enjoy for the most part. Stop it, Pete.
We pick movies
Unless I
that,
pick one and then
you
one
know,
of y'all
found a way into our
is
heart.
in a hateful,
For the-
spiteful mood.
Most part is why I added that.
There's an
Although
asterisk.
Nate didn't like your last one and I loved it. So I
I
don't
know.
I had a really bad month.
I'm batting 500 with you 2 dingoes.
That's all right. That's all right. But no, so normally when Nate and I have picked these movies out and stuff like that, it's like, well, we should do a slasher. We should do this movie. We should do a haunted house movie. And we all know how that turned out last time. So
Really sleepy.
this I got thinking of this is really the first movie I've picked based strictly on nostalgia. This is a pinnacle movie for me, and I have watched it countless times. I've owned every iteration except the Shout Factory Blu-ray, which will be ordered before the end of the week.
Didn't even know that
But
was a thing.
Wow,
yeah,
same.
I had the VHS. I have the DVD. I did watch it on Tubi, trying to see if maybe it was a different like cut or something. It wasn't.
Okay.
So this movie has always been something that has stuck with me for years because it's the first movie I could connect to when I watched it. I watched this movie going, that's me. I was a metalhead. I was not part of the in crowd. I didn't play sports. I didn't do all this other stuff. And while I didn't have, we didn't have the money for giant computer setups. I mean, this kid in the movie had the setup. I mean, he had a computer he had an Alexa before Alexas.
Yeah,
you.
this
I
guy
got,
had
I got that one
Siri.
written down.
Uh-huh. And so he called his Igor. But
Igor.
yes, there we go. Nice little young, or what is it, Frankenstein?
Young
Frankenstein.
Young Frankenstein.
That's it, man. But no, this movie, since I watched it for the first time, me and Ben, unfortunately not in theaters, and I'm sure we'll get into that in a little bit on why I didn't watch it in theaters. I've watched it ever since, man. It's always been it's almost like a comfort movie for me. And I was like, I want to do this one. And when I told Nate, he's like, okay,
Deer in the headlights, because I had never heard of it.
Nate surprisingly had never heard of it. And as we go through this episode, fate is kind of weird to us, and we'll find out why this particular movie on this particular day is kind of awesome that it happened. So
that, ladies and gentlemen, is a tease.
That is a tease.
That's
So
not what I'm used
stick
to when it comes
around.
to teases.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
Ooh, saucy. Well, let's go ahead and get the trailer out of the way here, guys. What do you say?
Let's do it.
All
Do it.
right.
Now that I have your attention, please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Trickster.
What was that film you were watching?
Death, death, death.
Death, death, death.
Part 2.
Oh, Lord. Michael's seen it.
Go for it, man.
Done it. Played it.
Look, I've played them all.
And just when he thought he'd die of boredom,
Brainscan, the ultimate experience in interactive terror.
Never leave home without it.
You're in the game, man. You're in control.
You must think like a killer. Cover up any clues. Leave no witnesses, no evidence.
a challenge he can't resist.
It was so real. It was sick.
See, I told you, man. I told you it would blow your mind.
A game he can't escape.
There was a grisly murder in the quiet suburban town of Mountview today.
So you did it.
What was on that disc?
It's not a game anymore.
Hamilton, Hayden.
It's real.
It wasn't supposed to be real.
Real, unreal, what's the difference?
I didn't kill the man. I didn't even know him.
You're in this now. You won't survive on your own. You started this and now you're afraid to finish it just like you're afraid of everything else.
I won't kill her. Shoot her.
Play it. The witness has to die.
Edward Furlong, Frank Langella, and introducing T. Ryder Smith as the trickster. Brainscan.
I can't wait to see what you do next.
Yes! Metal and horror, man. Metal and horror.
That's a good trailer, man. That's
that trailer does
voice,
sell the
you
movie
got
pretty
metal.
well.
Yeah, that's good.
Yes. No, God, dude. This actually is one of the things that surprises me that Nate's not seen this movie. This is like right at metal and horror movie.
Well,
being
I have a
married.
very sneaking suspicion as to why I've never heard of it.
Oh, why is that?
Because this movie was only in theaters for 2 weeks, and it feels like it just got buried after that.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
I can't even figure out what the budget was. I can't even find it anywhere. But it only grossed $4 million.
Oh.
worldwide.
Now,
Yeah.
I this is a first time watch for me as well, and I remember seeing it in the Blockbuster or the Family Video, or what did I Video Connection is what I lived nearby in the late 90s, I suppose. And I do remember the cover of this, so I'm not unfamiliar with the movie. It just, that cover never drew me in. It's a little, I don't know, it's just a little uninteresting of a cover. Doesn't really tell me what's going on.
Yeah, there's two covers. There's the international release that is what most people now recognize, which is what
the
Shout
face
Factor
of
even used.
TJ
The face that
Storm
looks,
or whatever. Yeah, okay.
TJ Ryder.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
T. Ryder Smith, sir.
Ryder Smith.
Sure.
But the one from the United States release is literally just like Edward Furlong standing among static, and the tricksters kind of silhouetted in the background ever so slightly.
Oh,
so,
interesting.
yeah, it's not a cover that grabs you, but this was one of those. Edward Furlong was on fire for the early part of the 90s. So after Terminator 2, man.
No, I know. I
Terminator
understand
2.
why Ed Furlong was cast in this, because he was hot shit at that point.
Right. And
but he is such a garbage actor that I got no time for that kid.
Hey, what you mean, man?
Right.
That's my Edward Furlong.
Is he a teenager with angsty problems that his voice is changing and he's going through some shit?
Been changing for 2 years.
Guess what? That's what this movie is. And that's why this is probably
know.
one of his better movies, because it is literally about a kid that's his exact age in this movie. It's not like he's going to be the savior of the human race in Terminator.
I get that.
He was never that great in Pet Sematary 2, even though I do like Pet Sematary 2.
Good Lord, you're the only one.
It's got the Kurgan in it, man.
It does have the Kurgan.
Stop it.
It's the Kurgan. It's also got an amazing
the decisions you've made in life, Charlie, are
wild ending in that movie as well. When he's holding that kid's head to the motorcycle.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, man. Come on.
One scene does not make a movie. Even if it's bitching.
Remember that when we talked about thirst.
I look forward to when Good Beer Bad Movie Night decides to do The Crow Wicked Prayer.
Right? Yeah. Oh,
Please,
yeah. Edward Furlong
make
did
it
that
happen.
one.
You get Tara Reid and you get Edward Furlong.
Or he could do, what is it, the remake of Night of the Demons that he was in?
Oh, he was in that.
Yeah, he was
I
in that
feel like
one.
there's a lot of fodder in the late 2000s that Good Beer Bad Movie Night could have a heyday with.
Now look.
Pete's
this is my show.
Please
that's my show. This
That's
isn't
your
my
show.
show.
We're not
That's my
stepping
show.
on-
This is your show.
We're not stepping on your show, even though we don't agree with some
You could
ratings
do
you've done
Terminator
recently.
Dark Fate.
No one should do Terminator Dark Fate. I'll only ever do it so I could tell everyone how I fixed the movie. So that's I
What
fixed
about
it.
this movie
Sometimes that's a
called
lot of fun when you have
Assault
fixed a
on
movie.
Wall Street? It's probably a Edward Furlong classic.
No, he doesn't. Classics and Edward Furlong do not go hand in hand. Okay.
Terminator 2 does.
That Venn diagram is tiny.
Yeah.
There's
Terminator 2 was
and
it.
Detroit Rock City. I do love Detroit
take
Rock
that
City.
back.
All right.
I do.
Yeah, Detroit Rock City. Yeah.
I love that movie. And I wasn't going to jump into this right away, but I found out some information about him that I was like, holy shit. So they got him a tutor when he was filming Terminator 2.
Sure, because he's underage. He's still in high school.
He was underage. He was
junior high
still,
or whatever,
him and his tutor, who was female, hit it
No.
off really
Oh,
well.
No, gross.
I'm not done, guys. Hold your grosses till the end of the story. She was 26 years old. He was 13. She then became his manager, and they lived together till 1998.
Right before Detroit Rock City.
How does something like that happen even in the 90s?
I mean, in the
I
eyes of
still
law,
feel like
that's
because of the
statutory rape.
90s, yeah, like the
Right.
last.
But I'm saying flip the genders. And yeah, that would have stopped immediately. But yet this was okay.
Jerry Lee Lewis and his cousin.
Dude, I'm like, It's no wonder this kid was basically on a crash course with his life. That is a messed up situation to be involved in. She even sued him later for some of his money he made while she was manager. So it's this whole weird lifestyle he was thrust into, and I just don't think he could ever dig his way back up out of it. He's tried. I know he's kind of gotten a little bit better. He's cleaned up. Hopefully he's still sober. But anyway, that's not what we're talking. This isn't the Edward Furlong episode, but he's the reason why I rented this movie. Also, this was the time where Ben and I are renting every horror movie at the video rental store.
This is fairly kid friendly. I don't want to say kid friendly, but it's pretty kid friendly. It's
the right tone.
Teenager.
Yeah. But I think even kids these days would look at this technology that's being used and go, "What the heck is going on here? This
movie will." And this will go over Anthony's head if I let him watch this, because he'll have no concept other than this would be probably the best one for me to show him and go, here's a glimpse into your dad's upbringing, what was popular, what was going on, hell, even down to the style that what the kids are wearing, how they talked. This was me. And this is where the difference comes down to was when I did start watching the Freddy movies, the Jason movies, all those, what was shown as teenagers, they weren't really teenagers.
No.
But I don't have any concept of how those teenagers were brought up with the parties that they would always go to, or the summer camps they would always go to, or the endless sex scenes constantly in those. This one was a lot closer to being an outsider growing up, loving heavy metal and loving probably comic books and stuff like that. Back in the 90s, that was looked down upon. We were the outcasts in school.
Oh, heavily.
Oh, for sure.
Dude, I wore black heavy metal t-shirts all the time, man. That's all we wore, and I played video games. Like I said, I didn't have the computer rig he does, but I knew what it was. And we were on during the 90s. And this is something I know Nate wants to do in a little bit here on the show.
I feel like we just go into it
if
right
you
now.
want to. So Nate, why don't you just go ahead and intro that so I can continue my thought?
Yeah. So my whole thing was I wanted everyone to bring 3 things from the 90s that they latched onto, something that kind of defined them or was a part of their life that really made an impact on them. So I figure we can go around, do one at a time. How's that sound?
Sure. And since I'll start.
You
since
start.
It goes because the other thing about this movie and all that was, it was a time of the video game market was constantly changing. There was always the next newest system that, we had from the Atari to the Nintendo, the Super Nintendo, the Sega, the Jaguar, it was just constant game after game after game. We got Mortal Kombat. We got Killer Instinct. We had all these games, just this influx of content, and the 90s was flooded with it. And it's one of the things I remembered most. So that was another connection, was this movie revolves around a game that immerses you into the content. You're supposed to be a killer. You're through the eyes of a killer, which is kind of a cool concept. It kind of harkens back a little bit to like Maniac, where you would watch through the eyes of the killer and things like that. And so, but they put it, this is also when there was we talked about the satanic panic during Amityville. Now we're going to talk about how bad
damn video games are going to ruin all your kids.
Yeah. Video games, heavy
gore,
metal,
music,
Dungeons and Dragons,
D&D.
Yeah, that was all leading to the next level was video games. Was the next thing that was targeted. Sure.
Yeah, we always have to find something to be the enemy, and it's always something super ridiculous.
You need a face of your enemy. It can't just
you
be
don't understand.
society.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I love. It's funny we're doing an Edward Furlong, but that was one of the things they touch on in Detroit Rock City was when all the moms went to go protest the concert for Kiss.
Right.
But the moms just kept doing it, even every generation. So we had the moms against violent video games. Hell, video games started getting rated because of all the pushback.
Oh yeah, this is the time that we're talking about, M games and teen games and all that.
Right, all that
because of Mortal Kombat.
But you also had Dee Snider talking to Congress about metal music and why it's not Satanism, why it's not all this other stuff. I mean, it was the 90s was chaos when it comes to trying to find your identity. You guys think it's bad now. The 90s was kind of the start of that.
It really was. But I kind of see the flip side of this coin here. I see D. Snyder 100% like freedom of speech, bitches. We deserve, it's an inalienable right in our society for freedom of speech, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody, right?
Right.
So this explicit content comes on, whether it's music or movies or video games. If you slap a MA-17 on something, me as a parent who isn't, but me if I was a parent, could walk into the store and quickly decide what game is and isn't appropriate for my child. So I have no problems with them putting explicit lyrics on said game or movie or album. I have no problems with that. But I also don't want you to censor any of it either.
And I think that was the fear, was if we allowed
it was with the Tipper Gore thing. Absolutely. That's
what it was.
And there's also the radio edits. I got no problem with the radio edits because that's for public consumption.
It is.
If you want to listen to it on your own in your house, what you do in your house on your own time is your business. Nobody else's, as long as it's not hurting anybody. So that's where I stand. Soapbox done.
No, you're fine. And I know we're supposed to be doing a roundtable of the 90s, but because we're on the subject, this movie touches on that nerve. This movie shines a light on, especially with the principal of the school. Like, you can't be watching that kind of movie, even though, we let you have a horror club.
It's a horror club.
What horror club is amazing.
We had clubs. I wish I'd have thought about doing a horror club.
Yeah.
We had a baseball trading
Didn't
club.
know that was an option.
We had all these other things. But the fact that it was like, okay, now I need to pre-watch before you're allowed to show it to everyone else. That is just instantly just talking about, I need to censor this before it's allowed for the other students to see. I got to give them my stamp of approval on it. So it's just this, and then we're getting into
for
the
high
video
schoolers,
game.
I'm not totally against that.
No, but I don't think Death was that much of a gory movie, though. Part 2.
Part 2.
Part 2. That was my favorite part.
Do you want to see Death Part 2?
Because I watched the scene where the guy got his hand cut off, and I'm like, this feels like a Hammer film kind of horror movie.
Was the first movie Death, and then the sequel was Death, and then the third movie was Death?
Well, I think this was Death, so it was
was it? Okay.
Part 2.
Yeah.
I was making a
So
joke,
maybe
and I
it
failed.
was-
Maybe Death is Part 3, but it's a prequel of somehow, like a Death 1.5.
It's Death plus 2 is the first one, and then we got Death. I don't know. There's a joke in there somewhere.
We've skewed from Nate's question, I think.
So
Death High.
So, Pete, this is the beauty of what we're also doing. As most people know, we're of different generations here. So within a few, we kind of land in different areas of the 90s of our ages.
5 years apart each.
I think
Give
I'm
take?
eight above Nate. I'm
Oh, okay.
42.
Okay, yeah. So I got 6 on you. I'm
Okay,
turning
so
49 next month.
We're within this even
But
distribution across the
that's
generations.
a huge gap when you're in junior high school. That's a giant gap.
Yeah.
Or even in college. Like if you can be in the middle of your college degree and you're a senior in high school, and that is that gap is
That's
miles apart.
It's the Grand Canyon.
100%.
But funny you say that, Charlie. One of my things that I wrote down wasn't necessarily video games, but the arcades. We still had arcades in the 90s.
Mhm.
I remember arcades in the 80s. I had a Commodore 64 with a 5-inch floppy disk. I had an
That's
Odyssey.
a little personal there, Pete.
I know. It was 5-inch, and it was floppy. Let me tell you, when I was 10, that was great.
We broke Nate. That's always my goal.
There he goes.
Nate's
So-
gone.
So I bought with my lawnmower money, I bought my first 8-bit Nintendo, but I still loved going to the arcades in the mall. So when Mom would drag us to the mall for whatever the heck she wanted us to do, I would gravitate towards that arcade there with $5 in my pocket, and I could play for a couple hours easy, whatever I wanted to. Also, the 90s, and specifically, this is where I was headed, was a renaissance of pinball. And I I know that's one of my things. I got my Godzilla, I got my trumpet, and I got my pinball. Those are and beer, of course. That just everything that surrounds.
That's the recipe you make to get a peak.
All of my hobbies, all of my hobbies. Yeah, I know.
Beer
See what I did
reference.
there?
Nice.
Yeah.
I like what you did there.
All that revolves around alcohol of some sort. So anyway, maybe not in the 90s or the early 90s. Anyway, but the arcades back then had a renaissance of pinball, like starting at. You can argue where it actually started, but when the Addams Family came out in 1992, that blew the doors off of anything before it, and arguably most of the stuff after it until maybe the mid 2010s or so. The theme integration, the call outs, the toys in it was it was hard to beat. It's still hard to beat. It's one of the most replayable pinball machines out there, and that came out in the early 90s. And then other companies tried to ape that experience where you were doing this world under glass, I suppose, where there was a story to be told with this machine, and we all reaped the benefits of this competition, and we got things like Roller Coaster Tycoon, which might not be great. Let's go back. Well, we got Twilight Zone. We got the road shows, Whirlwind. That was a little earlier. Anyway, I'm getting my themes mixed up. But anyway, you could walk into an arcade and hit 2 or 3 of these great pinball machines and just have the time of your life.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I remember that really impressed itself onto me in the 90s was this it was still a social aspect. When you went to the arcade, you would still meet the same burnouts, and you could buy cigarettes in the back if you wanted to, and probably more if I knew what I was asking for. But yeah, it was
wink,
the
wink,
art.
nod. We
Right.
understand.
I still love playing my games at home, but any opportunity that I had, we lived in a small town that was far away from an actual mall. So it wasn't something I could ride my bike to. But when I was there, I definitely ran straight for the arcade with a $5 bill in my pocket, and I was good for a couple hours, and Mom would get her stuff done and we go home.
There you go. Well, Nate.
I'm right there
Nate.
with everyone. It's
Baby
video
Nate.
games. I am jealous though that like we only had one arcade in Springfield and it was in the mall, and we didn't get to go to the mall often as a kid. So I didn't really get to have the full arcade experience that I wish I could have.
Yeah.
That's why I love 16-bit and pins so much. That way I can just get my alcohol and my video
my
game
county
on.
fair had like a 6-tent setup where they had arcades and pinball machines.
It's incredible.
And we would walk through the mud to play our Miss Pac-Mans and Centipedes.
All those machines just eating them quarters up.
Oh, it was stinky. Anyway,
But
so sorry, Nate. Didn't mean to step on your toe.
Nah, my aunt had a Sega Genesis, and I'm fairly confident like
Ooh.
Sonic was the very first
I think
video
you're right.
game I ever played.
Yeah, 16-bit
I was a
Sega
little
Genesis, right?
kid. Yeah.
Yeah. That
Blew
was
my
that was
mind,
Sonic.
and then that Christmas I ended up getting one from old Santa Claus and couldn't figure out how he built it. Could not figure that out.
Dad brought home an Atari one day.
26, 72.
Still had wood grain. I don't know if that makes a
26.
difference. Probably still 26.
Probably still 26.
So that was my first video game system, but I will always remember the Christmas I got a Nintendo. And again, didn't have a lot of money. There's no judge, nothing like that. My parents did the best they could. They provided. Dad was able, because he worked for Pepsi, they were doing a huge promotion with Pepsi and Nintendo. I mean, Pepsi was everywhere. He was able to buy a Nintendo, but it was the bare console. So I didn't get the Zapper,
Like Duck Hunt.
Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
I didn't get any of that. So my first, and this is funny, this is going to tie right into Pete. My first 2 games was Burger Time and Pinball.
Nice.
So,
Nintendo Pinball.
Pinball, which is
God, I
on the
forgot that
Switch right
existed.
now. I love that game.
Nice.
But that was my first.
I think mine would have been Sonic and Streets of Rage 2, I believe.
That's a good one. I love that
I
one.
believe those were
That's
like
all
the
right.
two games
That's all
that I
right.
got for
pipe.
Christmas.
You could pick up the
pipe,
pipe,
right?
You could
Yep,
pick
you
up
got
some
the
of
kid on the
oil barrels.
rollerblades.
Yeah, you could either be the giant big dude that looked like
Max.
me or the guy that looked like Nate.
Axel,
know.
yeah. Not
Right.
like video games made such an impact into my life that I mean that's what my hobby is now, still to this day. Like, so
Well,
I
and
have the 90s to thank for that because, like you had said, I mean, the marketing for these things where it was Mario having that mascot and Sonic being the mascot, then moving on up to Crash Bandicoot, you know, like
Oh,
with
well,
the PlayStation.
this was every Saturday morning. These commercials ran every afternoon when school was out. These commercials ran. It
mhm.
was toys and video games, toys and video games, and it was just it's why we play fun little commercials in our commercial breaks. You know, we do those type of things. So let's bring this all back full circle back to the movie, which is centric
This is
around a
why
video game.
I wanted
Yeah.
to talk about the 90s because the movie itself, there's not much to go on.
So Nate, you're worried we didn't have enough to talk about with this
Well,
movie?
So here's what's cool about this movie. When
Yeah.
I was starting it out, and I was like, man, this is a really cool premise.
Mhm.
I'm really digging this.
I'm with you. Yeah.
And then to me, we get to the first kill, and it's visceral, it's gross, it
Mhm.
was uncomfortable,
Mhm.
Yes.
and I was like, we might be onto something here. And then it kind of lost steam for me. I still enjoyed myself. I'm not bashing the movie.
Mhm.
There's nothing here I want to bash about. Really, it
Right.
it was more or less. I feel like there's a really great premise still in this movie that even to today's day and age, with like the VR headsets and stuff, you have a possibility of remaking this. But also with the 90s, we were talking about this new computer technology and kids with video games and violence than what this movie was touching upon.
Yeah.
And we had this. We had Lawnmower Man. We had was it Johnny Mnemonic with Keanu
Mnemonic.
Reeves?
Johnny Mnemonic.
We covered that
Mnemonic
not too long ago.
Slap you.
But that's kind of where we're at right now in the early 90s when it comes to these movies.
Right.
You know?
But guess what? I'm not gonna ding this movie because I know when
No,
it was
I'm
made.
not going to ding it for some of the CGI choices
it
that
didn't
happened
have
later
Jurassic.
on.
It didn't have
Right.
Jurassic Park
Right.
money. It
My
didn't have
thing-
this other stuff. You didn't have
I was
Terminator
waiting
2, Edward
for-
Furlong.
After that first kill to be like, oh boy, what's gonna be the next kill? What's gonna be the next kill? You know, like I was waiting for this to keep escalating worse and worse, and then have the twist revealed that this was all him doing it. Instead, it's like, boom, the twist reveal right at the very beginning of the movie. You're like, oh, okay, so now he's instantly against it.
So that's where I feel like the filmmaker decided that I don't want this to be a slasher movie, which is something I want to talk about here in just a bit.
Hmm.
It's where he decided that the movie needed to be more cerebral and really play with your mind. And also, again, I have such a connection with this movie, though. Everything Edward Furlong's going through and experiencing in this movie is relatable to me, you know, from being awkward around girls, not knowing how, you know, they may think of you. I don't think I ever put a video camera into a girl's window, but
do not do that. Disclaimer:
but
do
let
not
me-
do that.
Hold on. Let me say this, though. There is not an adolescent boy that would not try at least once. You know, especially when you're that age.
I feel like
I wouldn't try that.
every
Let's, if we're
teenage
being
boy
honest
though wish
here.
they had a girl next door though.
Yeah, see this
But
place.
then you
see,
got like
that
someone
was-
like me that lives out in the middle of nowhere. You don't get that opportunity.
that was me. I didn't have
You
a
know,
girl that lived next. So
we
you're-
had two neighbors, one to the left, one to the right, and then you had up down the road where we rode our bike, and
Yep.
like two neighbors up there. Then that was it.
Mhm.
Nate lived in Ohio, Virginia. I lived in Virginia, Ohio, because it's both rural where we grew up. So no, but I was able to go. I was still able to go. I understand where his head is. He's also the only one in this movie that's actually 15. The girl is in her 20s.
Yeah, Kyle, his best friend's like basically 30.
Right.
He's
Who's-
27.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically 30,
27,
and he's
in
playing
this movie.
Beavis.
I bought it though. What?
Oh, yeah, he pulled
I
it
mean,
off,
look at
yeah.
him in the movie.
Yeah.
When I saw that, the kid from Terminator 2 looks older than Kyle,
Agree,
the redheaded
agree.
one.
Yep.
Yeah,
So it's
no.
like that guy's 27. He gets in trouble a lot. He gets ID'd everywhere he goes. Girls laugh at him, period. That's all I can say when he looked like that and playing a 15-year-old, and I bought it. You know, that's probably the most believable thing in the movie.
Mhm.
But I loved how, again, I'm going to end up repeating myself so much because I had such a connection to this movie. I also, otherwise this thing's going to be an extremely long episode. There's a lot of stuff that happened when I was doing research in this movie because we don't plan out specific reasons for why we do these movies, like a date. We've done it one time. Nate? We did the Friday the 13th because it was the anniversary of Part 7. Now,
oh yeah, lay it on me. I want to hear what you got.
Well, this isn't the anniversary of Brainscan, but there's some fun things in this that are little Easter eggs, to our show and to the movie.
Ooh.
So to the show, there is an Easter egg that the ad for Brainscan is in a Fangoria magazine. They reference Fangoria a lot in this.
Oh yeah, they're reading Fangoria nonstop.
The last shot of the movie is Ed reading Fangoria.
Right. So, and there are several different magazines, but the very particular one that he has that has the ad in it is Fangoria number 95.
Okay.
The very same Fangoria I saw for the first time that has burned an image in my brain, and I brought it up on the Darkman episode, was the eyeballs popping out of the face from Total Recall. Was on the cover.
Oh man,
yeah, that's a good one.
Nice.
Darkman is in the corner, so you see, because the very next issue is Darkman Unmasked. So I referenced that back in our Darkman episode. Here's some fun though. Today, as we record, is the anniversary of Darkman. So Darkman came out today, and it was on the cover of that I referenced in the Darkman episode on one of my favorite movies of the very first Fangoria I remember seeing.
So President Lincoln had a secretary named Kennedy, and President
Exactly.
Kennedy had a secretary named Lincoln.
Just before recording, there was another anniversary that I found out, and Nate kind of made a quick little joke here about how it's a reference to like Drop Dead Fred. There's also Siskel and Ebert made a comment literally about Drop Dead Fred and Beetlejuice. A lot of people consider this guy like a knockoff Freddy Krueger. There's another movie that this particular movie acts like an adult version, and I'm wondering if you guys got it. There is a movie that came out right at the end of the 80s, right into the 90s. It's a classic, but it's almost an adult remake of this movie, Brainscan. Any idea what it is?
The only thing I could think of, and I'm going to butcher the name of the movie, is it Little Monsters?
Bingo.
That was what I got the vibe out of from this movie.
Today is the anniversary.
Yeah,
today is the anniversary of Little Monsters as well.
Because I loved Little Monsters.
Why is that an adult version of this movie?
Because you had this.
Because Fred Savage and Howie Mandel.
Yeah, but Howie Mandel was a monster that was influencing Fred Savage.
Yeah.
Fred Savage had a girl that he was interested in. If you watch, we actually just got that movie for the kids to watch. And
okay. Yeah.
It is without the murder, but there's some dark elements. No, there's some dark elements in Little Monsters.
Okay,
like
I've seen it once.
Revisit Little Monsters. It's been years.
The main antagonist at the end, boy, is terrifying as all
kidding.
get out.
All right,
I am not
I'll go see
joking.
it.
So watch that again. But anyway,
Okay,
there is a lot of people that will be like, this is kind of like an R-rated Little Monsters. Today is the anniversary for that. It's also another anniversary, Nate.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, it is. There's a lot going on in this episode.
I had to get us in here. This is the perfect episode to do it on, though. Nate, what's today's anniversary?
A year ago, not quite exactly, just a couple days
Within
after
a couple
year.
days.
Yeah, give or take.
It works.
Is when I made my first appearance on the podcast.
What?
We did Hellbound. We introduced
You
Nate.
made me watch a Chuck Norris movie where he fights pro-Satan operating system.
Yeah, we did. And it was amazing. I
It
don't care what
was.
anyone says.
You can listen to that episode and be like, man,
I
Nate
did.
barely talks at all. You can listen to our Near Dark episode and be like, man, they have no idea what they're doing.
Still,
And then they
almost
listen
holds
to this
the-
episode and they're like, they still don't have
They
any
still
idea what they're
don't
doing.
really know,
We never said we did.
but at least they're not walking scene through scene by
Hey, you
damn
get what you
scene.
pay for, people.
That's it. And you're not paying for it, so this is what you get.
That's what I'm point.
But anyway, I thought it was kind of a little cool
Kinda
idea that
crazy.
there was all these little like connections to this movie
Little
that
cookie crumbs.
I have
That was
loved this
fun.
movie forever, and then I can still find something that I like completely in this movie. And okay, Edward Furlong, he plays a video game. It takes over. It ends up that he's the killer, and we're watching a lot of the stuff through his eyes. I do agree with what Nate said, though. It comes a point where you're kind of like, holy crap, that first kill is amazing.
It really is. It's very good.
brutal. You're like, if that's the first one, holy shit, what am I in for?
Yeah, it's this dude asleep just getting attacked by a knife, which is like a huge fear of mine.
Yeah.
Is to just be randomly stabbed while sleeping.
I just don't
being
want anyone to
completely
cut
vulnerable.
my foot off. Yeah. just
And
don't
then,
cut my
yeah,
foot off.
to have the foot be taken off as the trophy is like, holy crap, we're gonna deal with like some serial killer, like,
Take the
you know, trophy.
I'm never
Ugh.
looking in Nate's freezer ever.
Yeah, don't. Ever.
Don't.
I don't want to
Make sure you hide it really well. Freezer.
Freezer.
And then he goes to bury the foot, and immediately Jackie and I are going, I wonder if he's going to the pet cemetery.
Right.
Ah! Killer foot running around trying to kick his ass. Oh, but no.
A killer foot kicking ass. That would be.
See?
I also enjoyed that the
Yes. Yes. You like what
the
I did
movie
there?
decides we don't have the budget nor the explanation to be like, what if he has like a headset or, you know, this giant video game system? So we'll just say it's all like you put in the disc and then you close your eyes. And you know what? I bought it.
He was in a kick-ass recliner. I was already like, I
That
love
was a
that.
game.
He
that
has
was a
the
game
gamer
kit.
chair I
That was a
wish I
gamer chair
had.
Before,
I mean,
before
he's
He's
gamer
got
got
an
chairs were a
awesome
thing.
sound system.
Yeah.
on a 17-inch monitor, though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
17-inch
which was like
CRT,
a big
baby.
screen. That's
That
bigger
was-
than what I
that's
had.
that was a
growing up.
sexy screen.
And
and
that
he had-
computer had to have at least had 1 gigabyte of RAM, I bet.
Oh,
Exact-
at least.
yeah, for
At
sure.
least.
yeah.
But, you know, you had to call the number to turn the game on. I was like, that's kind of wild. You know,
Do
it's
you
like,
remember you used to be able to, like, in the back of the instruction book, in
try again.
in the back of the book, you could call the number if you needed tips.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
How to
for
beat the
And
game.
it was $2
Really
a
certain it was a
minute.
900 number.
$2.99 a minute or something
Yeah.
like that.
But hey, God, I wish I could go back in time and call them because I got that adult money now.
I don't know, dude. I got adult money too, and I don't dig $2
Yeah,
a minute.
but
That's
like,
not
there's
cool.
at least, you know what? People
what
throw
YouTube's
$12 to random
Hello,
people on
Please
OnlyFans.
hold while we connect you with a game expert.
Oh God, please get me off hold. Get me off hold. This is costing me money.
That's right.
But I will throw $12 just to get me to the next level.
I'm telling you, man.
I
that's
would
what
also
YouTube's
like
for.
to be like, because back in the day, you could have, if you saved at the wrong spot with the wrong amount of health and not enough health potions,
Oh, you're
you were
you're doomed.
boned.
Yeah.
So I would
Bones,
also
yeah.
like imagine making that phone call and then be like, "You did what?" And then
Yeah.
you saved it.
We can't
Oops.
help you.
Yeah, no, you're screwed, man.
But you've got the emerald key, right?
That's right.
The
The
what?
There's
that?
that. Yeah,
The
exactly.
what?
or it'd be like Resident Evil, like, well, you got the Magnum.
Dude,
The
start
what?
over.
Just hit reset, man. Just hit reset. Oh man. Or Nintendo, there was no save. So
No,
Yeah.
not really.
you played through.
Look, the only way we're gonna get you to keep playing this game is to make it super, super hard and no saves. Welcome
But
to Jurassic Park, the video game, or Lion King, the
Yeah.
video game.
the
Literally any movie like base game back then.
you got it. You nailed it. So yes, but back onto the point of we had an
we have a
amazing
point?
kill. Yeah, no, we don't. Just back on some kind of track. Um,
That's fair.
the next kill is kind of a
don't see it.
letdown. They expect the shock of it being Kyle, his best friend, to have the impact. And I'm like, no, I really kind of wanted to see it. Even if it had only been the aftermath, like blood
Standing over
everywhere.
the body with bloody
yeah,
hands. Yeah.
standing
Mhm.
over the body, holding a
But
different
they
weapon.
skip everything, and
All
he
of it.
gets
Full-on
he
skip.
gets a phone call or something that your buddy's dead or something.
Well, no, he
What
he
was-
opens his fridge
Oh,
and
he
sees
calls-
his buddy's pendant, and
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
calls his buddy to see if like it confirms his suspicions that this is actually a reality happening, that he is the one doing these killings, and that's what confirms it. He takes a very big drink of milk, which we
oh my god, it's the grossest thing. No
one drinks milk like that.
Nobody.
It's pouring off his face. He gets up to take the disc out. It's still on his face when he sits down. I'm like,
this is why the girl next door won't talk to you, because you're always covered in milk.
God, man, she doesn't know it's milk though. But anyway. It could have been yogurt. What the hell's wrong with you two? Damn it, man.
I think she's wisely cautious about this boy.
Right, as she strip teases for him in the window.
God, please stop. I cannot.
You know what we should get to?
The PB
David
Tom.
Bowie's showing up.
That is not David Bowie.
David Bowie. I would have seen David Bowie in his codpiece.
Yeah, there was no codpiece.
I would have seen that immaculate representation of manhood.
Well, this is what happens when you order David Bowie,
as I always am,
off Wish.com or Brainscan.
This is Wish David Bowie. Is that what you?
No,
this is what it is.
Damn it!
Who never leaves home without his Primus album.
Hey, that was awesome.
I was losing it. The fact that he was just going through, it was like, who is this imaginary character making fun of this kid's music?
Oh, you're talking about the trickster or whatever. Yeah,
shit music. I'll play something good. He walks across his desk, pops in the CD, jumps off, and I'm like,
bass slap
it's
start.
Primus. And he goes, he yells, he howls, he goes to town. I'm like, yes. And Ever Furlong stops him. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Don't stop him. This is Primus.
Yeah, I don't know why. That should have been right up his alley.
You'd think it was probably too new. I mean, Primus was out at the beginning of their
very
career.
out there in '94. Yeah.
It was called Welcome to This World. So it had an N if you knew what the song was called. It was the trickster coming in.
I saw Primus open for Rush once.
Oh, awesome. That sounds beautiful.
I'd love to see Primus.
It was kind of kick ass. Two very different bands in the same venue.
I think now is a great time to even go, the soundtrack for this movie is probably the movie's biggest saving grace as this movie goes through.
It's
love the
something
soundtrack.
I appreciate now, because in the 90s I was not in the music at all.
Well, see, this was music me and Ben listened to.
Yeah, this would make sense.
The White Zombie song that's playing.
Oh yeah,
when
Thunder Kiss 65 is playing in the background.
That's not just Thunder Kiss 65. That's Thunder Kiss 65 remix with KMFDM. So it was elevated
now we're
even.
My language.
Yes. Oh, Ben and I were huge KMFDM fans. Right at this time.
Such a good band.
But that's that again. It was just another thing that grabbed me. And say what I get what other people say. This guy's kind of a knockoff Freddy Krueger. Obviously, they were hoping for a franchise with this guy.
I definitely think so. Like
that dumbass ending,
yeah.
Waiting for this to strike gold, because now we have exited the 80s. We're in a new generation. So Freddy's old, Jason's old,
dead.
Michael's old. Yeah.
Freddy's
dead just yet. Like in a year.
Scary computers.
I thought Freddy's
Computer
dead
demons.
was right then, wasn't it? When was 5?
I try to forget 5 exists, so I don't.
That's Freddy's Dead, isn't it?
It is.
Ooh.
I thought that was like.
Is that the one in
95.
3D or the one that was partially in 3D?
I think 5 is the one. I think there's literally a video game in it.
There is.
Somebody look that up while we talk. I'll look it up. Nate, you talk, or you look it up. I'll talk.
I was looking it up.
You look it up.
If that's one that's got some 3D in it, I've got the 3D glasses back here.
This is
That's awesome.
I'm not
Holy
kidding.
shit!
Back here somewhere.
Final Nightmare was 91.
I told you.
Dude, I thought it was like 95, 96.
They spit every Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street movie out in the 80s. The 90s was literally a lull in slasher movies.
It was a desert wasteland for most
until
horror.
The triumphant brain scan.
It
Ryder Smith.
Not sure about that.
Came on the screen.
Look, I love the trickster in this. As I've grown up watching this,
I didn't hate him.
That dude's face just is unsettling when you look at it.
Shark teeth.
He has way too many teeth in his mouth. He looks like, his skin's all stretched out. He has the most badass hair of any horror movie guy. I
balding
don't
mohawk.
care. I love it's put a mohawk on Pete. That's what we would be. Whoosh. I love everything about the trickster. I even like his entrance because his head comes out of the screen and we only see his head. Then he assembles his body and it starts with the guts and gore, and then his clothes
in the
come
most
on.
90s CG fashion possible.
It was.
It was rough,
I
but
will not. I will not.
I can't take it for that. The technology wasn't.
No,
there
I
at the
won't
time.
because technology wasn't there. It's one of those charming moments when I see stuff like that. I'm like, oh yeah,
Yeah, it's like, oh,
especially a
I
movie like
love
this of like.
At the time that might have been scary. Who knows? The actor that did this trickster, I thought he might have been the strongest actor in this movie, or giving the strongest performance. I should say.
Oh, 100%.
Because Frank Langella
100%.
is clearly the most experienced.
He's the most experienced, but that's also why he's playing the cop like he is.
Yeah, and he just played it straight and just
he played it straight.
I think he took a step back and let everyone else act in it because it wasn't his movie.
There was a moment though when, and for those that don't know Frank Langella, that's Skeletor from Masters of the Universe,
and everything. He's in everything.
He's in a ton of movies.
He's one of that guys.
He almost plays him too straight and hard-nosed because literally his partner dies, and he has a whole speech about anyone carrying a gun. Basically, I'm going to shove a gun up your ass and then arrest you. He just goes, someone's going to have to call his wife. I'm like, that's not, I wanted him to blow up.
Specifically, who's going to call this guy's wife?
Who's going to call his wife?
I thought that was pretty powerful.
It's a hard line.
Screaming
but then that's it though. And
they didn't hang on that very long, and that wasn't the.
Also, his partner should not have been walking down a dark alley with his gun drawn, among other gun toters.
Also, like though that no one's allowed to carry a gun. Next scene, everyone's
got an assault rifle. Yes,
they were shotguns. They weren't assault rifles. There's no AR-15s in 1994.
Okay,
all right.
I'm not a gun expert. I don't know.
No, it was 90% like shotguns, and I think a couple had pistols.
It just cracked me up. I was like, not one, but like 7 of these dudes are packing.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
all of them,
and just brandishing in the open. They're not trying to hide anything.
What was that? I don't know.
Hey, somebody's walking up behind us. Kill it.
Then the other like patrol officers, did you hear, kid? They shot the killer. Like it happened 2 seconds ago. We don't even know what happened.
If you're a bad cop for instantly releasing this kind of information.
God, Ted, you suck.
Now, I feel like this would be a perfect time to go around and do our second round of 90s.
Sure.
Oh, you want some more nostalgia? Okay.
Oh, yeah. So,
some personal
Charlie,
nostalgia. Is that what we're calling
Go
this?
for it.
So this is going to kind of tie right into, I know I went more video games and systems, and you guys kind of took it into the arcade thing. The arcade thing kind of lands where I go for my second choice, but it's the social aspect of the 90s. We did have malls that we would go hang out with. We would cruise every Friday night, man.
Yes, cruising. Oh my God.
When gas was cheap.
When gas was cheap.
You know, Benny drove a Camaro with T-tops, and
that's
we
awesome.
had subwoofers in the back. We had kickers. We had all this stuff, man. You were the cream of the crop when you were cruising. Then you would park for a little while next to whoever else was out.
Yeah.
You would go into the mall for a little bit. There was you always went to the arcade or to go get food. You know, rarely did we ever go to actually watch a movie, which is what we should have been doing most of the time. But
no, you're making it on the back row.
It was such a different social dynamic than what we have now.
Agreed.
And that's probably what makes me sad the most about how my kids are growing up, going, I just don't see how you're getting this social interaction that I feel people still need and desire, and they're wondering why things are so bad now.
Go to any mall and it's just dead now.
What mall?
Well,
there are no malls.
It's all online. Whatever.
They're called, what do you call the where it's just a bunch of stores all put together? Outlet malls, where it's just a sidewalk with storefronts. That's not a mall. The mall was you went into a building and then all the stores were around this big gathering place.
You got in trouble. You walked around. You ate lunch.
Yeah. You ran from security.
Yeah.
You know, you had, like Pete said, you had like $5-10 in your pocket to go spend. Ours was called Tilt. So we would go to the Tilt and play video games. I would spend most of my money in Afterburner, the good one that would move with you as you shot
very
jets.
cool,
in Terminator
Yes.
2.
Yes. Anything that had a gun involved, yes, I played those.
Man, I hated those games.
Area 51,
Yeah,
all
for
those
sure.
type of
And
games.
that Aerosmith Revolution.
The Aerosmith Revolution.
Yeah, I remember that one being
Dead
sweet.
was House of the Dead around then? Was that
House of the Dead was
Nah,
a
it would've been
little bit
90s,
later.
later?
early
Okay.
2000s.
Yeah.
Probably Sega
Okay.
Dreamcast era, I think.
Right about Sega Dreamcast.
I'm jealous though because like I never got to go to the mall, and then there was this one time where Cody and I went to the mall for our girlfriends, like in the sophomore year of high school,
Mhm.
and it was his mom was supposed to pick us up, but she didn't pick us up till like the mall closed, and we got dropped off there at like 12.
Oh,
So
no.
for like 8 hours we were gone the entire
God.
time, and then my mom was pissed the whole time
I
because we
bet.
didn't have cell phones, so we couldn't
Nathan,
call.
where
Yeah.
have you been?
Where have you
Nathan?
been, Nathan? What have you been doing at the mall? What could there possibly be doing at the mall for 8 hours, Nathan?
You with your hooligan friend? Huh?
You're
You
never
with your
going
hooli-
to the mall again, Nathan. Thanks, Mom, for all the trauma that I didn't know I was getting.
I love when Nate's mom makes an appearance. My favorite. Pete, what's your second?
This is weird, Charlie. You're kind of channeling me, I suppose.
Quit scaring me, Pete. Don't do
I know,
that.
I know.
Don't put that voodoo on me, Ricky Bobby.
Brainscan him.
You mentioned cruising, and you mentioned that gas was pretty cheap back then, and it kind of was. I remember when I moved to Sandusky in '98, gas was $1-ish, and when I got up to $1.10, people started getting pissed off.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm not kidding.
Remember when it was like
And
a
then-
buck 25? Yeah, that was a big deal.
I
Yeah.
remember. Seriously.
Uh-huh.
I was
Yeah,
driving in
and I was
96.
bartending up there. I'm like, Jesus H, $1.10, golly. So in high school, or even heck, even in college, actually, gas was so much cheaper. You didn't have to think about that. You could think about where you were going and what you were going to do over there, because travel wasn't terribly expensive as long
You
as
could
you
go forever on $5.
right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So my memory, one of my memories of the 90s was travel was affordable to a degree. Like you could go from here to there, and then you just had to worry about when you were there. I remember going to Florida once on I got $100 round trip ticket to Orlando or something, and I met a buddy down there, crashed on his couch, and I think I spent $100 in drinks over 2-3 days, and then I came back, and that was it. It was pretty affordable, even as a college kid with a crappy job. I did go to
minimum
Ireland.
wage was like 4 something at that time. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I went to Ireland one year with the Ohio State Alumni Band, and I think
awesome.
We marched the St. Paddy's Day Parade in Dublin, Ireland, 1996. I got a picture of that. Anywho, I think that cost me about $1,000 for round trip plane tickets and most of my room and board in Dublin and London.
Now that's your plane ticket there and back.
You right.
Yeah.
So even as a piss poor college kid, traveling wasn't excessive.
No.
It was the activities at your destination is what cost money.
Yes.
And that's
you could go places and blow all of your money. You
you didn't blow it getting there. I mean, half your budget wasn't.
That's
Joe
why
and I
we
were-
cruised. We didn't have money to
Right,
spend. We had money
right.
for gas.
Exactly. That was cheap.
And
Joe
you
and I
had to
went
have a
there.
friend. We had a friend that worked at McDonald's. So even if we did get the 20-piece McNugget,
got the
and
food.
we got 40 pieces because
Mhm.
Dean worked in the
Nice.
back. And if I wanted a
Mm.
McChicken, it was a triple McChicken. That's not a secret menu. That's called your buddy Dean works in
That's
the
it.
back.
Right. When you know the guy doing the wings
Yep.
at BW3, all of a sudden your 10-piece turns into a 50-piece, and
I worked at
everybody's
Long
eating
John's,
tonight,
man.
bitches.
Everybody come when Charlie worked because you would get a family meal.
Yeah. Jody and I took a trip
When
to
you're
Colorado.
here, your family.
That's
right. Jody and I took a trip to Colorado in April, and half our bill was travel for plane and car
Oh,
rental.
you have to factor in
easily.
like
Yeah, it's got to
Uber
be half
now,
anymore. Mhm.
parking, stuff like that. Like,
Yeah. So that's what I remember about the 90s. That was it was like, okay, how much money can I squirrel together when I get there to do the things that I want to?
Yeah.
And I almost never worried about to and from, because
how I was
it was
getting
an
there and back.
afterthought
Right,
on
right.
stuff like that. But yeah,
Mhm.
like my trip to Nashville last year, it was like, all right, I need an Uber budget because we're gonna be drinking every single
Sure.
night. So from the hotel to Broadway, like we're gonna make sure that we get there safe. Like it adds up
Still
quickly.
Nashville.
when you-
It does. It really does. Mhm.
yeah.
Nate, what's your
Hey,
what's your second memory from the 90s?
Weren't you born
my
in the
baby
90s?
latch on to cartoons. Is
Oh,
big
yeah.
for me.
That was the end
Yeah.
of the cartoons, wasn't it? Like the Saturday
It
morning
was.
cartoons, wasn't
Saturday
it?
morning cartoons. Like we're talking the Spider-Man animated series, which is still
Oh,
one
that
of my
was-
favorite cartoons.
That was past my interest in Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like we had Batman.
Batman was
Yeah, I
not.
was gonna say Batman. the
Batman was
Batman.
right smack in my wheelhouse.
That Clayface, like being introduced to that as a kid,
Still
so
one of my
cool.
favorites. One of
Yeah.
my favorite characters.
The X-Men cartoon, that's
Oh,
so good.
that music.
Disney
That
Plus
music was
is
so good.
bringing it back.
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
You know, South Park.
Mhm.
Being able to watch South Park or Beavis and Butthead while being in like 5th grade, and now Beavis and Butthead is back and is just as good.
I heard.
Ben-
Yeah,
Ben-
is it good? Have you seen
It's
it?
so good.
All right.
Ben
I'm
and
gonna
I
watch it then.
didn't have Comedy Central growing up, but
Yeah.
I remember renting South Park on VHS
Really?
to watch
Yeah,
it. Yes,
they would have like what 3 episodes.
It was
on
like
it,
3
and
or 4, and you could rent it, and it took you I don't know how many times to get through the first season, but the first time I watched South Park was on a VHS in the 90s.
I
man.
remember
Yeah.
it was like 6th grade on the internet, waiting for the videos to buffer in the computer class I had to watch South Park clips.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
I don't mean to trump everyone, but
Go ahead.
I saw the Christmas episode before South Park was ever aired.
Oh, you
really?
saw it on
I worked at
the disc, right?
CompUSA selling computers, and one of the techs got the email with
Nice.
with the link in it, and he was able to download that, and we watched it at his house. And I remember watching it, I'm like, this is hilarious. I mean, I'm dying. And then like maybe a year later, it hits Comedy Central. I've
Mhm.
seen this.
Yeah.
It's
Why does this
not
look
as
so familiar?
vulgar that I remember it being way more vulgar. And then it took me years and years to put the pieces together that what I saw was the original thing that
See,
that
I
made its way.
remember the VHS as having more content than what I would
Sure.
start watching on
Mhm.
the others. They still bleep the cuss words,
Yeah, most
but
yeah.
there was a lot more to it.
But
But
it's so funny. You go
Think
back
about
and
it.
watch
This
those
show's
episodes
still
now.
going on.
Yeah,
So is the Simpsons, and that was
yeah.
Simpsons.
Well,
Yeah.
that was going to be my
That was in the
last thing
80s.
of the
That's the
cartoon
meta
90s
now. It's
is
Simpsons are
Mhm.
forever.
The Simpsons shaped my entire humor
sure
as a
sure.
kid.
as
Like,
it should.
Oh yeah.
yeah,
funny.
like those first. Some people say 12 seasons. I think 15 seasons are so great that I absolutely adore them.
It's
like,
within there. Yeah.
I can just watch them nonstop. I still quote them nonstop.
Oh, we quote them all the time, don't we, Nate? I mean,
Yeah.
constantly we
Mhm.
are always making a reference to it.
like the
I
Simpsons
used to know
changed
most
I
of
quoted
them by
one
heart.
today.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, you did.
who I am. So you throw in video games and The Simpsons. South Park was cool just because it did cuss, and it was that thing you weren't.
It was
allowed to
different.
watch. Same
Yeah.
thing with Beavis and Butthead, and then Beavis and Butthead. I unfortunately didn't realize how impactful the music videos would be until I got a little bit older, because it
They
took me
were-
a long time, funny enough, to get into music to finally.
They
like,
were the ones
realize what it
showing
was.
us videos that MTV sometimes didn't show you.
There is a
you know?
Morbid Angel video that is incredible. They did.
Oh my.
Oh, there's some fantastic
There's
stuff in
some
the old
really great
things.
ones on the YouTubes.
Yeah. All right. So that is Nate's second time for that. So let's go. I have something special. So you may have noticed I haven't played a commercial yet. And I've done that for a purpose
Right,
because
right. I'm surprised. I haven't been able
I
to go get a
have
beer.
I'm sorry. I'll be able to let you go get a beer here in a minute. But
Damn you, Charlie.
Commercial
I
equal beer.
all you have to do is say, Charlie, can we pause for a second? And I'll let you go get a
No,
freaking
no,
beer,
no.
dude.
This is
We treat
we're
this
having
like
a good
live stream
conversation.
at
This
all
is
times.
that'd be silly. Yeah.
So I have something because I kind of had I knew what you guys were going to think about this movie. There's no
Oh,
I'm not like disillusioned that it's like, how do you not think this is the greatest movie ever made? No, I get it, man. That's the drug of nostalgia.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
it is my movie. This is my generation. This is everything I loved about this movie when it came out. And we were touching on it there for a little bit before we did the 90s. This was the desolation of horror movies at the time. You know, all of our big icons essentially were gone. Even the studios were like, these last few haven't been making us a lot of money. Why would we want to put a ton of them more out there?
Yeah,
it was literally
interesting because, like, I know if I had to like really sit down and think, they're there, but no one really thinks back like, oh man, the age of the 90s when that was horror.
It wasn't good. I mean, you had Scream in the early 90s.
You got Scream,
and then I think after
90s.
This was your Final Destinations, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it's
what you did last summer and stuff like that.
Guys, we're in the neighborhood of Leprechaun 4 right now. I mean, that's literally where we're at.
That is where horror is at.
But
even then, it isn't until like what 98, 99's when the Sixth Sense came out.
Yeah. So I mean, this is almost kind of like that creature feature kind of redo where we started getting like Anaconda, those type of. This was like, let's put a really big name into a movie that's going to sell it for now. You know, it's like
Gary Oldman playing Dracula.
Yeah, we had Dracula.
I need to watch Dracula again.
You know, we had Interview with a Vampire. We had those. They started. Yeah, they really. This is a mishmash of content. It happened with action movies too. This was like the end of the Arnold and Stallone era, starting into the Keanu Reeves
action hero,
and this is
versus
like
the
Nate said, the Johnny Mnemonics that were started coming out. This is also the precipice of like sci-fi, you know, of this futuristic computers are really gonna be the next big thing in the world. And this movie, there's no reason this movie shouldn't have been a success, in all honesty. It was, I think, too many people, and I may piss off some people with this, but I don't care. I think too many people looked at this movie on the surface and went, it's a Freddy Krueger knockoff, and I'm not interested in doing this. I don't play video games. I'm not interested.
I think that's the other thing. Like, think about it this way. In the 90s, video games were for nerds.
Yeah, I said that.
Yeah, that's
everything that was big in this movie was looked down upon when I was that age.
Yeah.
Nowadays, if you read comics
it's
or watch
huge.
horror. Yeah. Oh, I watched this stuff all the time when I was a kid. Bullshit, Karen. You used to pick on me about it.
Kevin
told me no.
Yeah.
Kevin, the football player. Oh, he's stupid X-Men. And now
Karen,
he's running around like, I'm Hugh Jackman. I'm the Wolverine. F you, Kevin.
What he's doing is he's like pushing me in the locker going, nerd. I'm like,
I didn't even know the song. But it's like, it is, I'm jaded about that. That's like, it's a big middle finger to those people.
All
but
those OG nerds are mad
it
about
wasn't just those, though. I'm also mad at, like you just said, Pete, the OG horror fans were not willing to give a new.
Hey, don't be a gatekeeper, asshole.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm not saying that to you, Charlie. I'm sorry.
Okay.
That was not me to you. So.
I thought my sentiment was
no.
not gatekeeping.
Yes.
Okay.
I was agreeing with you and,
okay.
piling on that.
We're good.
OG horror fan, nerd.
You're not grounded.
Look here, OG nerd. Don't gatekeep here.
Yeah.
We here at Give Me Back My Horror and Action Movies do not condone the gatekeeping.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
That was difficult to get through.
Train off the rails.
We
Apologies.
do need a commercial break.
Maybe we do need.
No, I am getting into why I've left the amount of time that we needed to do this. So like I said, I knew kind of your feelings on this movie, and this is more towards the end. And technically we're getting to the end. He has to play through 4 discs. First one he does first kill. Second one he ends up killing his best friend. The third one he has to get rid of evidence. That's kind of weird.
That was weird.
That's that part in Grand Theft Auto 6 that they, or 5 they never talk about. It's like, oh, you just killed that hooker. Now you have to go and sweep up all the evidence.
And then everyone that dies is all
favorite part.
Inadvertently dies. Yeah, the footprints. Let me wipe them out with my hands. They already
It's
had
not my
police
body,
taped
right?
around
They
them.
would have definitely already found.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I have a fix for that. Okay, give me 2 minutes. So they play up that as a child he was in a horrific car accident. His mother unfortunately
mom died or
passes
something.
away.
His dad's always gone.
His dad is obviously, and this is another thing that probably works with the kids that grew up like this. Their dad is overcompensating, making more money, but he's letting work take over. But he's also, that's his coping mechanism because his wife's dead and he's now an only parent.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, they play up this whole thing of him getting his knee messed up. That's also probably one of the more graphic scenes in the movie is when they show his knee afterwards when he was
so
a kid.
stupid. I didn't realize that was supposed to
I
be
didn't
him.
catch that either.
I just thought it was like a
What?
kid got hurt from the video game and that someone else was playing the video game and hit the kid.
He didn't even have the video game yet.
I thought it was like the game was
So
always
he is-
existing and hurting people.
So no, this whole thing is he's dealing with a past trauma. He was there when his mother died. That's
Yes.
also pretty gruesome when she's laying on the road. So his knee is messed up. He's actually limping the entire movie. I feel like if you were going to do this whole thing about
That was just Edward Furlong being Edward
No.
Furlong the whole time.
him limping and
method, bitches.
dragging his foot, that's him continuing the fact that his knee is always going to be messed up, which was why I didn't understand why, if they were making the evidence about his footprints, what would have pointed to him faster than the shoe tread? It would have been one footprint and then a drag of a footprint. One footprint and then a drag of a footprint. That's what you would have wanted to hide, because who has a limp? Frank Langella's already ran into this kid twice, and he would have seen him walk away and do all these other things.
With his
he's-
amazing detective work going, that kid's probably the killer. He has absolutely zero evidence pointing towards this, other than, hey, you ran into me, you're a killer.
All
It's
your
like,
friends call you a freak.
someone
Yeah,
accidentally hits him at the grocery store with their cart. You're probably a killer.
And then he breaks into the house to take the ashes, and he still gets DNA from the ashes. I was like,
well, you can't get fingerprints from ashes. That's what we learned from Spinal Tap.
Come on, Skeletor. That's good. That was a good one, Nate. I like that. I do like that. So, but anyway, so that would have fixed the evidence one, and then you can keep that his principal got crushed by bricks. That was
pretty good.
It wasn't even his fault.
What teenager doesn't want that to happen?
Exactly. And then the dumb country bumpkin shoots the partner, and he then runs back home. The girl sees him, so now she's the new witness, and that's who he's supposed to kill on the fourth disc. So we get to this big ending where they are in her bedroom, because he is now, the trickster's telling him to kill her. He grabs a pair of scissors. He's basically, you can tell he's kind of playing the game. He's in that like zombified mode a little bit till he sees her and she wakes up. Now we get the 1994 graphics of them two basically merging. We find out that Trickster is essentially an evil side of him. That's what's been brought out, is he is the other half of Edward Furlong that is now
me.
out.
I'm
You're
you.
me. So he swallows Edward Furlong. And honestly, if the graphics could have been a little bit better, like now, I think it would have been a really, really cool effect.
The whole chewing ADR
Yeah.
was a little gross.
So, and then the lawnmower man spinning into the
we
void.
do.
Yeah.
So now is the point that I'm going to push a button, and for our listeners, this is going to happen instantaneous.
All right.
But I'm going to push a button to give us a cue. I'm going to send the guys a link, and I'm going to let them see what should have happened. All right, so everybody bear with us for one moment. All right, guys. After our little quick break, our listeners just think this was all instantaneous.
Yep,
I have
I got
sent
this.
you both a link to a YouTube video that I want you to watch. This is what was supposed to happen.
Okay. Okay. Nate, you ready?
I'm ready.
3, 2,
Two,
1. Push.
Now.
All right. Here we go. Okay. We saw that. Yeah, gross.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Lawnmower Man falling.
Yep. So everything you're watching right now is
Yeah,
in the
this is
movie.
all
90s, it's clearly
Yep.
from the VHS.
Yep.
And
Get ready. And everyone will hear this edited.
Was he going to be like Ant-Man and Thanos?
Nope. Watch.
Whoa.
oh,
Oh my God.
hey, that's a cool prosthetic.
That is
Whoa,
amazing.
Sweet.
That's
Right?
like the thing.
Yes.
Oh, that is horrible. Oh,
Why
and
was this not
getting
left in the
oh,
movie?
he's
This
getting his
is so
girl.
gross.
Ugh.
He's got like 2 faces and
Three.
3? Oh.
3 faces.
Oh, she's kicked him in the head.
Oh, and
Yeah.
she kicks the crap out of him.
Now it's a longer
Wow.
video that goes into the making of, so you guys can stop it.
All
at any
right.
point.
We can stop it from there.
That was filmed. They made a prosthetic that is essentially their bodies mid morphing into one. So in the movie, you see him fall down the void. Then
Mhm.
she is screaming and his hand comes up onto the bed. He lifts up and they've got the makeup on the side of his face to show that the trickster is part of him.
And I think he's got contacts in also.
Yeah.
One eye is yellow.
Yeah.
That looks sick. We will post that in the groups and on Instagram. That way people can
make sure that
try-
gets in the chat. That's
trying
really cool.
to paint this picture of in between. There's a reason, like, why is she screaming? She did kind of see something kind of horrific, but it was a different scream, and she looks a little bit more tussled, I guess I'll say.
Panicky.
It's because they filmed this creature crawling onto her bed, trying to grab her, and like she's kicking the shit out of this.
It looked like the
poor
creature
actor.
was going after her to have its way with her.
Yeah, it was.
That was a very.
Ugh.
I don't want to say sexual, but it was a very aggressive.
It's very
climbing onto the bed after you.
He doesn't actually do it, so we can
No.
infer a lot.
Right.
Also, you could probably infer maybe he's just trying to morph her in as well. If you really,
Ooh,
wanna
that's
go.
even grosser.
Yeah. But it's very alien-esque. It's very visceral. It's what this movie needed.
It's from beyond. It's the
And
thing.
they
It's,
cut it because the director's like, it doesn't fit the feel of the rest of the movie. And I'm like, you're an idiot. Like, I love this movie, but
me something,
knowing
yeah.
that this existed
Uh-huh.
was filmed whole 9 yards. And
All they had to do is in post-production do the touch-ups.
yeah, this special effects artist, if you look him up, he has done tons of other. He was even in did a lot of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. So
great.
if you get this feel of Freddy, it's because this is the guy that worked on those things. And I still think, Trickster could have been another franchise had they done this movie right. And that scene would have been a game changer for this movie on a whole. There's still stuff they should have
would have had me going like, I need more of this throughout the movie. Like
it would have, and I guess I kind of have to maybe say the director might be right because he skips over Kyle's death so nonchalantly. Why would you go 100 miles an hour at the end? But I'm also like, you did it though. Why would you not have put that
just
in
keep
the movie?
going.
Yeah,
so
you sort of were bookending the movie, or with this shot, you would have bookended the movie with a
right. You had an amazing
with a
first
vicious kill,
Yeah.
and then a ugly, like disgusting monster at the end of it. Yeah,
completely unexpected too. So if you wanted to go that route, this would have shocked people.
Yeah.
This would have been like, I would never have expected that to be at the end of this. So this is the first time we've ever done that. So this is kind of learning experience. But I almost sent it to you guys earlier, but I was like, no. I want your true reaction when you see this, because I knew this movie wasn't going to strike you like it strikes me. I'm not saying you were going to hate it. I'm just saying
you
I
have
just
the
knew-
emotional attachment to it.
I
that
do.
he
I
and
have the
did not.
nostalgia.
And I kept that in mind when watching it. Like, I understand why Charlie would like this so much as a kid growing up. And like,
I didn't. I thought Charlie was stupid.
Oh,
you always are like, you're always just like, Charlie, you're so stupid. You're such a bully to him in the group chat for the podcast. It's
am
really weird. Yeah,
I
like
think
you're
he's
always...
bully to you more than he is to me.
Yeah,
You're
he
so
sent
much
me
more
a
fun
clown
to-
spire today, the dick.
That's pretty
Half
bad.
clown, half spider, full terrorized.
That's because he knows I'd drive up to him and smack him across the head if he did that to me.
You're a little bit bigger than me, so
I hate clowns.
You're off the,
Yeah.
Nate and I are of similar build.
You owe me a beer.
I will buy you a beer, sir. That is not a problem.
I appreciate
So after
that.
all that, we get to the end of the movie. The trickster has set it up to where Frank Langella walks in and also does one of the most coldest endings that he's like Edward Furlong's literally standing there and
just standing.
shoots him. Frank
Shoots him
Langella
right in the
shoots him.
stomach.
Boom.
You're a murderer.
Murderer. And that's and then
then we get to the part that I hate.
Then Edward Furlong wakes up in his chair.
We got
And
We got Bobby Ewing'd.
we got sopranoed.
Soprano?
Jacob's laddered.
Wasn't it like a dream at the end of that? What was the big show that it all ended up being a dream?
Dallas.
Dallas?
Bobby Ewing.
Was it Dallas?
Bobby Ewing, yeah. I
What
don't
was
know.
the
I
other
never saw
Sopranos
the
that everyone hated.
I never saw The Sopranos, so I
Never
cannot
saw The
speak.
I didn't
Sopranos.
either. That's why I'm asking you two.
I
You
never watched
usually
it.
watch those weird ass shows.
I don't know what happened. I was too young, and we didn't have HBO. And then I got older, and I didn't rent it. And I didn't know what to do.
That was a big thing when I was young.
Yeah.
Hey
I don't know.
kids, ask your great grandparents about Bobby Ewing and Dallas and how they retconned like 3 seasons because they wanted to bring one character back.
Isn't Dallas the one that the Simpsons were making reference on who killed Mr. Burns?
Yes.
Wasn't that the same?
Yep. That was who
the same
killed
show.
J.
Who shot JR?
Who shot JR? Right.
I've seen
And
the
then,
T-shirts. There's
yeah.
you can still find the T-shirt.
It
Who
was
shot
a-
JR?
I did not watch that show as a child, but
I didn't either.
that was a big thing. Like it was in all the TV guides.
I know who Patrick Duffy is because of Step
Sure.
by Step, not
Sure.
Dallas.
Right.
Although I know
because
he
of
was in
South Park.
Dallas. Yeah. That's it.
So yeah, the whole movie has been retconned because stupid John Connor wakes up from his
John Connor wakes up.
hypnotic John Connor Jr. or whatever.
So the disc has been playing the whole time. It's
Yeah.
like so now it's like
He gets
the
the tech
whole
support.
thing was one disc that he went through the whole experience.
And he,
Everyone's still alive. His best friend's alive. The party's still going on across the street.
he hasn't tried to rape his girlfriend or
No.
Or
He actually
the girl
goes.
next door.
Yeah.
He's still a stalker.
Didn't try to though. Okay, we can only infer.
Okay, fair.
He actually
right.
makes a comment in this movie that you brought up and we didn't talk about, where the principal was like, these movies like to cause rape or erections, and then Edward Furlong's like, I don't think one erection has ever caused a rape. I think people caused rapes. And I'm like, you know what?
Guns don't
Kid
kill
makes a-
people. People kill people.
Kid
Yeah.
makes a
Erections
point.
don't rape women. People rape women.
My little David Bowie he's like, are we doing this? And I'm like, no, that's not right. So little
Did
David
you just
Bowie
call
said
it
no.
your little David Bowie?
I did. You guys brought David Bowie into this episode, so I was just gonna keep going with it.
1994 brought David Bowie into this whole
That's
thing.
right. I thought it would kill Pete. It's awesome. So anyway, everything is fine. He goes to ask the girl out. He gets all this courage. It's the A Christmas Carol ending, and she says no at first, and she's like, well, maybe. And then we see that she has pictures of him.
Yeah,
like he
that's
saw
just as
in
creepy.
his.
So weird.
It's fine, man.
But Kyle's alive. That's what matters.
Kyle's
he loves
alive.
Kyle.
Kyle's my bro, man. Kyle is my Benny. My Benny is Kyle, man. That's
Nice.
what it is right there. And then that's the end, or is it?
Mm.
Ah, why do you at the ending of this, Pete?
Well, there's the I'm going into the principal's office and he's cool with the horror club now,
Mhm.
and then Trickster shows up, and then there's a post-credit scene.
Well, we have to say he gives the principal the disc of the game.
Oh yes, that's
so
true.
that the principal has to
Now
experience
has-
what he.
now I'm
Yes. That way
And
he
we
can
s-
view if it's appropriate for
Right.
the
And
horror
we-
club.
we
Oh,
get-
now that's fun. I didn't think about that. That's right. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
so you want to check all this stuff out before
Because
Right.
at first
expose
I
it to everybody.
thought
out there.
that he was going to make the whole classroom experience. I was like, wow, that's
No,
a really
no.
dark ending.
It's
No,
pretty
no.
dark,
he
right?
wanted the principal to.
And then once he showed up,
experience
I was like, oh, okay, I get
Yeah.
what's going on here.
And
Because he's a
then the-
vengeful little prick.
because the trickster's smiling till he realizes, oh wait, it's that guy that's gonna play the disc. So that's the actual ending of the movie. Then we have I guess probably one of the earlier instances
gonna
of
say
a
it-
post-credit scene.
I would like
Yeah.
listeners, if you can recall an earlier post credit scene,
Not counting Ferris Bueller.
fair, yes,
At the very,
that's
very,
fair.
very end of
Mhm,
Ferris Bueller.
mhm.
We all know that one's
Which would be an actual post credit scene for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
But this was all right.
Yeah, I can't think of any other movie that
The-
did this back
so
then.
the post-credit scene-
when did Wayne's World, the first one, come out?
Oh,
92, maybe?
There's
yeah,
2 post-credit scenes.
yeah, there is.
Yep.
All right, so
There's
it's
one-
still
there's
very
one mid-
early
there-
on.
It's a mid-credit, and then the
This-
very end where
this
they're reading
this
magazines.
concept of post credit scenes
It's still
is
early.
still very early
Very
and
early.
very rare.
And it's unexpected because the credits do start to roll.
Yep.
Then the trickster talks, and he goes, "Oh, did you forget something?" And we watch the dog walking, running across like a playground or whatever across the
With-
street
With the
with
foot of the first guy.
the foot of the first guy in his mouth, and he goes to Edward Furlong's door and he sits down. What do you think about that ending, Pete?
I don't know what you're doing. I have no idea what this means.
Nate,
To
As-
me,
Are you
the
dropping
whole
this
logic.
off to start everything over again, or are you actually it was more confusing than it was revealing to me.
okay, Nate.
I just felt like Logic left the building very early on in this movie. So he beat the game. So because he beat the game, the trickster allowed his friends to live, but the first guy's still dead.
So he still plays the game. He still puts the
He's-
first disc in. That guy dies during the first disc. And in the movie, Edward Furlong wakes up and the party is still going on. He
Right?
still had time to have completed the first mission of the game. So that guy's still dead. He still played the game and killed the first guy. Because that's where we now wake back up, is after that death in the timeline of the movie. So that guy's still dead.
I feel like I'm just as confused, but hey.
Edward Furlong still killed that guy.
What
Yeah.
you're saying is that first kill went through.
That it happened.
It actually
and
happened.
The rest of it from the point of where he's supposed to awake,
Mhm.
because the party, when he wakes up the first time, he slams the milk down. The party's still going on because he
Yeah.
blasts the music
Yeah.
to try and drown him out. The end of the movie starts at that point where he wakes up. The party's still going on next door. Kyle's banging on the door trying to get in. He still had time to do the first kill, the first mission of the movie, of the game. So that's why there's still a foot at the end, and the dog still has it. All that still could happen.
Okay.
I'll take your word for it. Pete and I are still
There-
lost. Like the
there's
look on
a-
both
No,
our
it's fine.
faces.
There's
I've
another-
watched this movie
Yeah.
40 plus times.
Sure.
You guys have watched it once.
Yep.
Twice. Pete does
I
double
watched,
duty.
I watched it twice because I took
Double
notes
duty.
and then I wanted to watch it again. Or
Fantastic.
no, I watched it and then I took notes.
Pete and I also had the enjoyment of watching this with the closed captions on that were
Indeed.
all edited.
See, I couldn't do that. After you guys told me what it was, I was
Freaking
like, no.
heck.
Yeah,
Freaking
they
heck.
edited. They said the cuss word,
You
but they
son of a
won't
gun.
put it on
Oh, the audio
subtitle.
is correct, but the
Yeah.
closed
It was
caption
so
is
jarring to see. It's the only movie I've ever seen do that.
right.
it's very funny.
So I talked to Pete, and it's in something you guys won't hear, but Pete had sent a message going, somebody loves Aerosmith in this movie a lot.
It's
Yeah,
true.
someone was really wanting to make sure that
There were
the
there were
Aerosmith
no
was
less
getting
than
their
3
due.
posters of Aerosmith's "Get a Grip" from '93? Question mark.
You want to
94?
know? You want to know why?
Sure.
Was somebody married to Liv Taylor? No, she
No,
would have been very
no.
young at the time.
Why? Also, if you realize, no Aerosmith songs played in this, so
Not
they
at all.
Right, they couldn't afford them. They were
They,
big time.
they
They
didn't
were
pay Aerosmith, but the connection is on the Get a Grip album is a song called "Living on the Edge," which starred
uh-huh.
Edward Furlong.
Oh.
So it was a wink and a nod to him being in that video, "Living on the Edge," and all the posters are for that album of Get a Grip.
Well, yeah,
So-
it was the cow udder with
the cow udder.
a nose ring.
It's
and-
iconic. I mean,
for sure.
everybody you see it. But when Pete said that, I was like, oh, Pete don't know.
Nope,
It's
don't
like,
know.
Edward Furlong was in that video. And like I said,
I
Edward
probably should
Furlong
have
was on
remembered that because that was
fire in the early 90s.
that was the MTV era, and I remember all those videos.
Oh, it
I
was
should have
the,
remembered that one.
We also, they did the ones with Alicia Silverstone
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Liv Tyler, and they did
That's-
all
Yeah.
that. But
Do you
Edward
blame me
Furlong
for
was-
remembering Alicia Silverstone over Edward Furlong?
I don't blame you. I don't.
Yeah,
blame
thank you.
you. I don't blame you. But that it was funny you brought it up because it's so like in your face, even though they don't play the music. But it's like, yeah, he was in the video, so
mhm.
it's like a little wink and a nod as it goes. So
You got the posters, but you couldn't afford the music. That's fair. And it really wasn't the right music. If you were
No.
headed with Primus and
Yeah, like it
not
wouldn't
Rob
have made
Zombie,
sense.
White
Like
Zombie.
Aerosmith would have been total dad
That's
rock. to
pop
Edward
metal
Furlong.
versus
Dad Rock.
it wasn't Dad Rock at the time. Oh, it might have been Dad Rock at the time.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. Because you got to think they go back from the 70s.
They go back to the
Yeah.
70s. Yeah, they were.
See, they
Yeah.
got brought back into our generation with Run DMC.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
They had been around for a long time, way before
Run
that.
DMC brought Aerosmith back into our generation.
That's what I'm.
is
That's what I'm
happened.
saying. Is
Oh, okay.
they got
I thought you
brought
meant- I thought you
back
meant it the other way.
by Run
Right.
DMC. Hell no, Run DMC was everywhere back in the day, man. Everybody. had
Well,
those
yeah, but
shirts.
they made Aerosmith relevant again because they
Yeah.
They did.
They mixed Walk This Way. For sure.
They 100% made them more relevant. All right, guys, that's Charlie's nostalgia pick this
Which
month.
Okay.
we should wrap up our third pick of the 90s.
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
we have
oh,
one
that's
more
right.
nostalgia. We have
Yes.
one more nostalgia.
And we got to get into everything else that we do.
No, that's fine. We have,
Yeah,
it's fair.
fair.
This is why I skipped a commercial because I knew some stuff was going to take
There's a
some
lot.
time.
There's a lot
Yeah.
to talk about, and we are running along, huh? Okay.
We're fine.
Not really. Okay.
I guess we're starting with me.
Yeah,
That-
go,
Sure,
go
yeah,
for it, Charlie.
yeah.
Yep.
Let's keep the
I'm
rotation.
gonna. The obvious answer is the movies of the '90s, man. We were
Aw, that's adorable.
well. I mean, it was.
No, I mean that.
No,
Yes,
I
heart-
know.
With,
No,
with all with all my heart and soul. Yeah, it's like yeah.
It really is because I'm at the age that movies mattered. We were renting movies constantly. I was introduced to the movies of the '80s and early in the '90s.
That's
So-
what's cool about us growing up in that
Yeah.
time was, we didn't have to wait 3 years for that sequel. We had 6 Nightmare on Elm Streets available.
We
right
were the
there.
original binge watchers.
Right. You could go to the store and get a stack of VHS or DVDs. This was we could watch these on repeat and repeat and repeat. In the 80s was like, sort of maybe, but in the 90s, that's when fandom really
Yes.
put its bloody
We're
claws
talking about the
into
beginning of the
film.
internet, of everything being mass
Right.
produced, and
Forums.
it's now easy to access it.
it's easy to watch things over and over again and nitpick and find out and
Yeah.
really
And have this really sweet race
love
car
what
that
you love.
rewinds your VCR.
We never got the race car one. Ours had
I
wood
never
grain
had
on
it.
it. Ours had wood grain. Everything had wood grain in my house, even the walls. But you
the
know,
wood
but-
grain VHS slider that held.
yeah, had that.
Yeah.
Had that one. Had the solder cabinet that held
Yep.
all VHSs in it. We had a television on top of a television because the big one that was in the wood cabinet
Didn't-
died.
That's a TV
Mhm.
stand. Everyone knows that.
Then
It's a TV
I'm
stand.
about to crank it to 11 on you guys because our next TV stand when Dad finally decided to get rid of the monstrosity was a Snap-on toolbox in the middle of the living room, bright ass red.
That way, the toolbox is nearby if you need
My
his
dad's a
tools.
mechanic.
Expensive.
My
Those
dad's
are
a mechanic.
expensive.
Yeah, Snap-on tools were
That's the
expensive.
priciest table ever.
He hadn't built his bigger garage out back.
Okay,
he had
all
a
right.
little storage building. Our TV was on top of a Snap-on toolbox. Damn it!
I'm dying.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Nate's
But-
dead again.
Yeah, it's fine. But no, it was, and I guess it kind of goes along the lines of entertainment in general in the
Mhm.
'90s. Everything was changing. They were experimenting. This is like an experimental age. We're just getting CGI. We are just getting these different thought processes on movies. You know, Starship Troopers. We're getting like sequels to movies that were only in the '80s. You know, it was this
Straight to
influx-
video was a thing anymore.
straight to
It
video.
was-
and,
this is where straight to video came from.
and
Yeah.
it wasn't always bad movies though.
No,
Some
it was
straight
like,
to
oh
video
shit, they
was
made
like-
a sequel to Darkman.
right.
Most-
Return of
mostly
Duran.
bad.
Then, but I'm mostly bad. But sometimes
Uh-huh.
you would find the gym because you would keep renting them. But you're exactly right. We would get the 5 movies for 5 nights. I could get every Friday the 13th movie. I could get every Nightmare on Elm Street until New Nightmare came out. You know, it's like I
And
had
you
all
binged
of
them.
those.
You
every
didn't
one of them.
create the word binge, but that's what we were
But
doing.
that's what
No,
you,
but
like.
yeah.
You would stay a night with your friend's house. You would go to the
Mhm.
video store.
Yep.
And you just rent a shit ton of movies. You'd always rent too many to get through in like a
right,
weekend.
and
Oh,
you
we
try,
always
you
did,
try like
yeah.
hell to stay up through all of them, and
Dude,
you
so
get
many
through
times
one
I'm
and a half,
falling
and you're
asleep.
out.
Fall
I'm
asleep in the
still
middle of the night,
amazed
and you
that I
wake up,
never-
and Freddy's like
Guys,
killing
guys,
someone.
Yeah.
we're gonna stay up all night and watch all the nightmares. Ready? Let's go.
You get through like 2.
If that.
I still,
I'm
I
selling
should
one
have
and a
stole the
half.
copy of Dead Alive from the local store. Should
I
have.
tried that with the Star Wars trilogy a couple of times, and I would
Hey,
always fall asleep in the middle
I
of
ran that damn
Empire,
thing so
which
many
is not the one
times.
you want to fall asleep to.
Late fees were nothing to sneeze at either, man.
Oh,
They,
Oh
no.
shit!
they
Those things, they
read
hold you.
Oh my
$3
God.
a day is like, oh shit.
Yeah. And then, but it was like, well, you can buy it for $50. What?
We can't go to
Right.
that video store anymore because
Oh.
we owe them money, but we
Oh,
can go to the
days
other
of
one.
$80
That was a
VHS.
thing.
I had 3 video rental memberships because of that. Like, do I owe money to Woody's? Oh, crap. I got to drive all the way to Lebanon and go rent a movie tonight.
Even like, I kid you not, it was like 4 years ago because Family Video was still
That was still
around,
kicking.
right
Yeah.
down the
Oh,
road.
there was one right down
Yeah.
the road. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, like directly down the road, and I
Oh,
I
yeah. You had the
occasionally
one on
still
the
hit it
corner.
up.
On
Yeah.
Norton.
I put the DVDs in my glove box and forgot
Oh no!
because I was gonna go drop them off after work.
Sure.
It was like literally a month later when I went, "Oh shit!"
You owe $1,000 to Family Video. Why don't you just wait him out, dude?
Unbeknownst to Nate, he should have just waited it out.
If you waited 2 more weeks, they would have closed.
Yeah, because that
the
was-
Little Caesars wasn't keeping them open.
That was like right at the time too, where you could still rent from Netflix and get physical DVDs.
I
which
still
guess you
get
still
2
can,
I get
Yeah.
2
Does it?
DVDs a month from
It's so
Netflix.
strange.
but it would be like crap.
Nobody hear that.
You heard it. I'll make sure everyone hears it. I'll
2
boost you on it
every month.
every month.
Incredible.
And the
Their
library.
DVD library is an endless well. It's incredible.
Oh yeah, because you're not worried about they don't have the rights to stream it. No, they'll have the DVD though.
They got
Yeah,
the DVD.
But that was the
I
kicker.
highly
was
recommend staying on the DVD.
you had your wish list with them, and then you would get your DVD going, crap, this isn't the one I wanted. You'd have to go to Family Video and rent the
Put
one
it
you
back in the
wanted.
mail and get the one you wanted.
And then, so that I remember that whole like dynamic of still renting movies at a physical store,
Mhm.
Netflix, everything.
I do it with the
And-
library also. I still
Yeah.
get physical
I need to
discs
do
from the
that. I
library.
need to support the library
And
more.
It's free from the library.
You guys keep talking about this library. I don't know nothing about no library.
It's
Who's this
free.
Barry?
It's free. It's another library. see what I did there.
I
It's
see
an-
what you did there.
It's
Yeah.
another collection of film that might not be
Ah.
here or there or everywhere.
It's
And
all
those-
that.
They don't like
I can get
have
all the
words and
criterion
they're not formed
from the
together,
library.
right? Like
They-
it
they-
has pictures.
They
that
push
move for me.
the paper movies. I don't like the paper.
I don't
movies.
like paper movies. I like paper movies that have pictures.
Yeah, not the ones that pop up though, because they scare
And
me.
they have this
I don't
little
like
red
that.
guy. His name's Hellboy. He's really cool.
I thought you were going to go for a Where's Waldo. The little red guy I could never find.
I
him
don't
in
know
the-
where
in the book. He's never there.
All
I don't
right.
think they even put him in there.
It's my turn for the 90s.
Yeah.
Yep, you're partner that we have totally gone off the.
I know. What one of the things I miss most about the 90s is my glorious hair. I had one of the most beautiful mops of hair ever. It was
We've seen
glorious. It was
pictures.
golden brown and thick and full. And then God hates me and took it away from me.
Very
I don't know
Homer
what
of
sins
you.
I've committed in my life, but he has ripped out my glorious Samson locks, and I no longer have them. It's
He
really
was
sad.
an extra on Powder, so if anyone understands that
Yeah,
reference,
that's
that's
true.
where we're.
So, fortunately, I married a woman
Total
that
90s.
enjoys a bald man. So
There you go, man. That's all you
I
gotta find.
I got that, but I really buying hair product, washing my hair is something that I I used to wash my hair, right? Okay.
Pete hates me because I purposely shave my head. So I'm one of those few people that would be like, I could go bald. I don't care. Let it go.
I'll trade you the tops. You can.
I would trade.
You can have the chin music.
Honestly, man.
Because I can't grow it on my chin either. It
receded a little bit, but not nowhere near
No,
as
no,
bad
it
as
looks
most
fine.
people. Yeah. If
It
I
looks
let this
fine.
grow out, man, I have a full head of hair, man.
I was standing at the library one day and I looked up in one of the security mirrors that was bouncing off a couple of other security mirrors.
And you saw the security mirror
and
back.
I saw a giant hole like the ozone layer in the back of my head. And I went, nope, I'm done.
You tried to grow your hair out.
Well, no, when I still had hair.
Oh, okay.
or so I thought.
Oh, it started from the back and went
no, it was always kind of creeping backwards here. But when I saw the ozone layer on the back of my head, I'm like, nope, that's gross. It's gone. It's gone. It's gone. And I just
canceled.
I went home. What?
I was really thinking about making, the yarmulke haircut. And I was like, I don't know if I should do that or not.
Yep, that would not be good.
Nate gets so touchy when I try to make just.
That's exactly what it was, though. But
that's what I'm saying. I might
Exactly
leave
what
this
it was.
in. I don't know. But
so
I'm not being racist, Nate. Stop looking at me like that.
I'm not looking at you. I was looking at my water bottle. You're on the left side.
So that's when I
hair.
decided that I was cutting it all off, and I've been shiny and clean the whole time. Thankfully, I have a beautifully round head.
You do. You have a very symmetrical.
Yes, it works.
It works for me, and I wear cool
you wear a
hats all the time.
I am jealous of your hat wear ability. I will give you that.
I got a face for a hat. I also have a face for radio, by the way.
Woo! That's why we do podcasts.
Nate, what is your final 90s
It's
nostalgia?
so funny. I'm right there with Charlie. It's movies.
Oh, I thought he was going to say hair.
It's like, Nate, you have a beautiful head of hair. Eat shit and live.
Nate's like, the ultimate comeback to all that shit I eat in the group chat.
My hair. It's
Charlie, cue the music. He's got hair. Long, beautiful hair.
Hair. Oh, let's do hair one of these days. I would love to cover.
We will do hair.
It doesn't fit any of these formats, so it's going to be a one-off or a live stream. Oh, let's go see it. Let's go see it in the theater.
Yeah, we'll go see a performance of hair.
A performance, a live performance, right.
That's awesome. All right, Nate, what's your 90s?
It's movies. It's the same exact thing. I remember it was one Christmas. The family got me a ton of Blockbuster gift cards.
Ooh.
And it was just this random gift that they didn't really know what to get me because I was in that weird,
weird.
early teenage phase.
I was in the weird, or I am the weird.
Have you grown out of that yet? Not
No.
really. No.
No. I've literally stayed the same.
Clearly
since
has
13.
not outgrown that stage of his life.
I still sit the same. I'm sitting on my legs right now as we record.
Because you still have good knees, apparently.
Apparently, and my ankles hate me.
Oh.
Yeah. So it was an eye-opening time of just renting a ton of movies. I mean, it was kung fu movies, it was action movies, it was horror movies. We just went to the video store nonstop because it's well, we got all these gift cards. You gotta use them.
Right.
You can only spend them in one spot.
I don't want a hamburger today. I want a chicken sandwich today. So then that's what you did at Blockbuster.
Yeah.
Like, man, I saw a horror movie last night. Let's see an action movie. Let's see a comedy. Let's see.
Yep.
That was the beauty of the video store.
I was a huge Star Wars nerd in second grade. That's pretty much when I realized I was not going to have friends. I specifically remember going to that parent-teacher introduction for the next grade into second grade, and my mom being well, he's really into Star Wars, and no one acknowledged that.
What year was this?
Second grade.
Second grade, you'd be about what, 7?
It was when the THX remasters came out. So what?
95,
that
96.
That was 95.
Yeah.
Oh hell.
Yeah. So that was I was in the Star Wars. So when episode 1 was coming out, it was huge to me that I get to see a Star Wars movie in a theater and having to correct every kid in 4th grade, it would have been at that time, I believe, that it was not Luke Skywalker, it was his dad, Anakin.
Good for you.
Yes.
You boys are stupid. Get your nerd on.
Then also like Blade, Starship Troopers, The Matrix. Remember getting The Matrix on VHS, but then finally getting a DVD player and getting The Matrix and thinking that was the greatest thing, not realizing it was just a rip of the VHS for that first release.
Right.
It wasn't until the Blu-ray where they finally...
It was on disc.
It was
We're
on disc.
living in the Matrix.
You could slow it down even further.
Which still couldn't see the green suits with the guys with the boards holding them while they did the bullet. Still couldn't see that. No matter how much you slowed it down.
But then there was a movie from the 90s that really, really like still stands out to me as like one of the greatest movies of all time.
Oh.
It's Terminator 2.
Yeah.
And it has Edward Furlong. And I thought Edward Furlong was the coolest person ever as a kid. He had a dirt bike. He ran away from the cops. Like, he listened to metal. Yeah, like he had that laptop. He could hack.
God, he did
Remember
have a
when
laptop,
hacking was
didn't he?
cool?
Hey, I still watch Hackers. I love that movie.
Oh, yeah. Matthew Lillard.
I don't care what anyone says. Angelina Jolie, dude. Yeah.
So,
love that
kind of round it all back up to Brainscan, where it was like, cool, we're getting another 90s Edward Furlong movie. Like,
which is why I'm
as a
surprised you never
kid,
seen it.
I
That's
never heard of
shocking.
it. As a kid, though, I thought he was like the coolest, most badass person ever. He had that cool haircut. All the girls liked him. Like, I just thought that was what you needed to achieve to be cool. And like Terminator 2 is still like, look, they tried to make how many sequels to that movie, and you can't surpass the second one.
No.
You know?
No.
Right. You're right.
No.
Yeah.
Aliens is the same way.
Yeah.
True.
Like, it's just like you can't top what is perfection.
You had those first 2 films, and they were darn near perfect.
I have a feeling when we do T2, it's going to be a 2-part episode.
Probably going to have to. You know, eventually we'll have to do a 2-parter.
Yeah. And
Hey,
like,
there's
I
just
feel
some
like
movies
that
will
will
have
be
to do it.
one, or it's just
This
like
one might have to be
such
if we
an
keep
impact.
talking.
Right. Let's wrap
We
this
bring
up.
funny,
Pete
'cause in
back
my
and
head,
look
I was
how
like,
long this goes.
There's not going to be much of this movie to talk about, and here we are going to have like a
No, I
record-breaking long episode.
knew I had a ton of stuff to talk about this movie. All right, everybody, it's time for Raining Blood. All right, unlike our last horror episode that hit us with a big old fat goose egg at the end.
Really?
Yeah, Amityville Horror has no deaths.
But does this one have any deaths?
It
I was
does.
going to say, is there an
Are you
asterisk to this one?
certain?
Oh, there are 2 asterisks.
What's with you
So,
and your asterisks? Oh, go on.
it's a thing that I've
I know,
had
I
since the
know.
beginning, and it's my bit.
And it's your show, so
That's
go on,
right.
Go on.
All right.
My show.
On the surface, the Raining Blood is 6. On the surface. But it was all a dream, or was it? Everyone is forgetting, though, there was a dead dude in the street when Edward Furlong's cutting through the houses and first meets Frank Langella. They are carting off a body on a gurney covered up, zipped up, in a big puddle of blood that causes Edward Furlong to have his first flashback back to being a kid. He reacts to the blood. And it's right when Frank Langella's like, "Do you live around here, kid?" He's like, "I just live, a couple blocks away. Get home."
That wasn't the first.
I figured that was the
person
first
that-
victim.
No. He
Furlong-
hasn't played the game yet.
He
He hadn't played the game yet.
Really?
He
okay,
hadn't
you've
even
seen it
got-
more than I, so okay.
Right after that, he gets the mail,
Okay.
and the disc is in the mail
Okay, see,
right
in my
after
head, I
that
was like,
scene.
oh, whatever.
This was
Funny how the brain works.
This was how
Funny
they
how the
were
movie's
able
stupid.
to. I'm gonna slap you.
Bring it.
This was how the movie was able to go. He has past trauma because it caused him to stop and remember
All right.
that instance. So there is a dead body. the asterisks to that. I kind of want to count the mom in this one.
I was going to ask you if you were going to count the mom.
It's good.
Because normally we don't count
don't
flashbacks.
see her.
Yeah.
But man, is that a graphic
Mm-hmm.
death? She is laying out on the thing.
Yep.
You know she's dead.
She all
Because
dead.
yeah. So I feel like while I am putting an asterisk to it, still happened. And the second asterisk is if everything is erased, there are still three.
Mom.
Guy in the street.
Guy in the street. You're
Guy in
okay,
the
the guy in the
street.
street.
And
And
then
the
the
guy
foot
with
guy.
the foot.
The guy with the foot.
Without
I'm
a
a guy
foot.
with a foot.
Guy without a foot.
Guy without a foot. Okay, I am a guy with two
So-
foot.
There are the on the surface and two asterisks.
there are 6 feet on this podcast.
And two of us under 6 feet.
I'm not touching that one at all, floppy drive. All right. Seeing as how there are still some kills in this movie, that means, unlike Amityville as well, we have our kill of the week.
What do you think? Zombie kill of the week?
Pete, welcome back, my friend.
Hi.
We've missed you.
We have. It's been great catching up.
Kill of the week, sir. I have a feeling we're all going to pick the same one.
Yeah, it's probably the same one.
We are, because there's only one on screen, right?
Yeah.
No, Edward Furlong does get killed on
I
screen.
guess. Yeah.
No, that's dumb. The very first kill is okay. So the very first kill kind of reminds me of that Giallo we watched.
Yeah,
House
House
by
by
the
the Cemetery.
House by a Cemetery,
Yeah.
where it opened with a
The fantastic kill
bitchin'
at the
kill,
beginning.
and then it was
Yeah.
for most of it, and then it ends with like, "Whoo, you shook me awake."
Yeah.
So there's something happening at the very end.
They
So
were
that's-
all ghosts at
This-
the end.
Maybe.
Right. So this movie, without actually being a giallo, kind of reminded me of a giallo. Ugh.
No, there's some flavor to it. I'll give you
Right,
that. I
right.
agree, yeah.
So that very first kill, which I think everyone is going to pick, because it's
Hmm.
really the only on-screen. Yeah, we'll argue about that later.
There's no argument.
That
No.
first kill is brutal and wonderful. I'll pick
And
that
it's
one.
all from his perspective. We have not mentioned that, have we?
Right. It's
No,
all.
we do.
It's all.
I
it's-
made the
it's
I made
first
the reference
person.
to Maniac.
It's first
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
If you are a gamer like Duke Nukem, Quake,
Because this
it's
is what
first
we were
person.
talking about. They set up the movie so well that you're like, oh,
Wolfenstein.
is this the game? But then
Or-
immediately they go, oh, it was him the whole time. Before
Exactly.
we're like not even halfway through
So-
the movie, and it's like, oh, it was him. So
That
Hey.
is a brutal kill. I love it. It's good.
you want to go next? You want me to go next?
Oh no, I'll go next. I mean, it's the same thing. It's a
Yeah.
fantastic. It set the stage for what I thought I was going to get from this movie,
Mhm.
and that's where I was disappointed that I did not keep getting more escalation from it. I guess.
Right.
But I also feel like if it would have made me very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Quite like the
if
Maniac.
it got worse
remake.
from there, that'd have been,
Yeah.
that'd have been a rough
Yeah,
movie to watch.
I feel like that's where this movie fails.
And
Is
I
not
don't think-
escalating.
I don't think the '90s were ready for that.
I think they were though.
But
I really
also-
think they were.
the '70s were
director-
worse.
Yeah,
Crap.
the director
The
has
70s
not
were-
really done
You
anything.
want to talk about some brutal murders? Holy moly! Go back to the '70s. I just think the '90s were a different time.
Yep.
A weird
It was-
buffer.
It was because we had to have
from-
the villain on what media is.
Right. You were really looking to capitalize on a new franchise. So
Yep.
I'm done.
That's
But,
fine.
I mean, an honorable mention would be the one guy that gets a bunch of bricks falling on him.
That was fun.
Yeah.
That was a
That
fun,
was- I was
fun
gonna
little
say that.
goofy moment.
I'm not
But,
going to do
you know,
honorable mention
he
until
still lives.
Charlie's done.
Right. Well, I mean, we all know it's that first kill. I
Okay.
mean,
Okay.
the guy flails around. Although I kept going. Although I probably was safer for him not to do this as an actor, but I wanted when he fell off the bed to actually land on the knife.
Oh boy,
not be face
he was
down.
rolling around, wasn't he?
Yeah,
That
he
the
was.
actor was rolling
I
around.
was
and
like,
ooh, ow, ooh, ow. Ooh,
I would
ow.
have loved. I mean, they already went that far, and they were about to go further. I would have loved the little tip of the knife coming through his sternum. You know,
Ooh,
like
that'd be
fall
good, yeah.
right on it,
Little-
boom,
just out of his
there.
belly button or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Then the killer would have to roll him over, pull the knife out,
Get the foot.
then cut the foot off, which the foot is the most graphic. Funnest kill, though, is the first time you watch this, you're not expecting the principal to get crushed by bricks.
Right.
It's kind of like, what just happened? And I remember that still, and I still laugh when it happens because I've seen it 40 freaking times.
Right.
It's what is it, Beetlejuice? I've seen The Exorcist, and it just keeps getting funnier every time I've seen it.
I see it.
That's the principal getting crushed by a pallet of bricks.
I think my asterisk was the cop that gets shot, because I wasn't expecting that either.
That's
Like,
still,
no.
yeah, that's still like,
Still
what
mind
just
blowing.
happened?
He's got a gun. He's like, bang.
Yeah, it's not like it's like someone off in the distance yelled it. They were only like 15 feet from each other. He's got a gun.
This is exactly
from
why
South Park
Tector from Blind Fury votes for gun safety.
That's right. Also, the killer never shot anyone, so it's like, why would we be worried if he has a gun?
Yeah.
Gun, right.
He has a gun.
His MO has changed.
All right, boys, let's rate this.
Guys, it's okay. He just wanted his machete back. Woo!
Back around to you, Pete. Welcome back. Give us your machete rating.
This movie isn't good, but it doesn't suck.
Mm.
It's a 5. There it is.
That's what I.
right down
That's
the
what
middle.
I expected.
I'm not saying don't watch it. I'm not saying go watch it. I'm just saying.
You're not saying stop what you're doing, but if you
No.
ever have the chance,
Nope.
matter of fact, we should go ahead and say it's on Tubi right now.
So Tubi,
So,
it's free.
It's free.
I found it on YouTube also.
It is also fully on YouTube.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
Tubi
it's-
was actually a really good rip of it. It's not the Shout Factory, but it's really,
Right,
really good.
right.
It's really-
it looked
yeah,
very
it's
good.
impressive.
It's just like it's a movie.
Yep.
Whatever.
No. This is fully what I expected.
Yep.
Nate, you want me to go next or you want to go next?
I'll go next. Sure.
Okay.
Why not? Just for this is the movie you love.
It's my movie.
It's your movie.
It's my movie.
I'm gonna give it a 6. I'm right there with Pete though. I don't think I would watch it again. I'd have a hard time recommending this to anyone unless they were a product of the 90s.
No. Okay.
Oh,
Sure.
Let's watch
You
this
haven't
movie.
seen Brainscan like myself. Like, give it a whirl, see what you think.
Okay.
You know,
Right.
hopefully it'll do kind of what it did for all three of us of just kind of like reflecting back.
The
on
guy
the
that
90s
was the
itself.
trickster was a really I
Fantastic.
really
He was the
enjoyed his
highlight.
performance.
He's
I really
totally-
enjoyed
Like,
his
he
performance.
really is like,
Mhm.
and like you look up his career and he has not done much.
It's because he's only
He's
a voice
a
actor.
stage actor, isn't he?
Yeah,
So he was a stage actor
Stage and
originally.
voice.
He auditioned only to be the trickster because that's how it was written originally. It was just supposed to be a voice on the computer. So
Oh.
they called him after he got the role going, "Hey, are you allergic to makeup?" And he realized, "Oh crap, I'm going to be on screen." So that is how he even got this job. He is also uncredited, but he is the voice of Igor on the computer as well.
yeah.
Yep.
I don't know,
Yes,
it's a
master.
very interesting movie, especially like it's one that will never get a remake because it bombs so badly and it's just kind of like forgotten about.
You can
But-
do that premise better.
But this premise is very intriguing. Like it was like those first like 30 minutes to 40 minutes.
Mhm.
I was like fully intrigued of like, where's this going to go?
Yeah.
You know, and I wish it could have gone further, but yeah, like it definitely has like a very interesting premise. That's cool.
I think so. Yeah. Okay. Well, that leaves me, Captain Nostalgia, over here.
Indeed.
Now, don't get me wrong. I can take off the nostalgia glasses and tell you what this movie is. I've said it several times.
We can all do that,
Yeah,
man.
we can all do that.
Give it to us.
But I can't ignore the impact this movie's had on me. This movie is a time capsule for me. This perfectly captures a screenshot of a time in the 90s. It also is kind of the perfect transitional movie you come to expect from the 90s, where they were experimenting. They didn't know what was going to work, what wasn't going to work. How do we follow Freddy? How do we follow Jason? All these other iconic characters. What's next? This is a logical next step, especially with video games and everything happening and parents that are against all these things and people, kids want violence and violence is going to cause these kids to kill everyone and all this other bull crap that comes from it and still does to this day. To me, though, this movie is a solid 7.5. I truly adore this movie. I watch it all the time. I have the DVD. It's multiple watches each year. There's just days where I'm just like, I really want to watch Brainscan, and I'll have it on in the background. I really do.
Great.
I love the trickster in this.
I love that you love it.
He has this aura about him that, damn it, if they had just done a little bit more with the story and more impact, we would be talking about Brainscan 3. We would be going, why did Brainscan never go into space? It was the logical next step. Right? But I mean, yeah, Hellraiser did it. But
this fall, you've seen him in hell. Now you'll see him in space.
The trickster. They thought it was a game to play on the space station. They were wrong.
Dead wrong.
Dead wrong.
So it's weird when you can watch a movie and go, God, you were so close. And the clip I showed you guys, they were there. They were touching it. And for whatever reason, they pulled back. Yep. For whatever reason, they just didn't go. It's going to sound cheesy when I say this, but they didn't give it the X factor that this movie sorely deserved. You know, that one thing about it that's just like, whoa, wow. It's like the Scream. The Scream franchise gave us that X factor, where we thought slashers were dead and it come back. And you're just like, whoa, they took something that we thought we knew and turned it on its ear. Brainscan should have been that. And I can admit they didn't quite hit the mark. They hit the board. They didn't hit the mark.
Agreed. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So 7.5 for me, but I will recommend everyone to watch it. I think it's an experience, but I'm not going to say it's going to change your life. What I'm going to say is it's a snapshot to an era. And much like movies like The Craft and stuff like that did kind of give us that X factor, but they're also another snapshot into another era that is perfectly personified in the movie. But those are able to stay timeless. This one definitely is aged. So
agreed. Yeah, well, that's a good point. Yeah, this one is aged. I think like The Craft and Ginger Snaps. Those are movies that. Those are good.
You're right. They're good. They're really good.
They
I haven't seen The Craft forever. Now you got me wanting to dig that out.
Time.
Or the spooky season.
I've probably watched The Craft once a year.
It's
even. It's always been considered like the chick horror movie. Dudes like it too, man. I
want to punch people that say it's a chick.
Yeah,
it's a horror.
But you know,
a horror movie that's awesome.
You guys do know. I mean, you know, there are people that do that. There's like, it's a chick horror movie. I'm not going to watch The Craft. It's stupid. I'm like, no, man, it's actually brilliant, and they really dive into. While guys' lives and locker room talk has always been in movies and talked about, The Craft was one of the few that gave you that. Other than Carrie, but they went deeper with this one. That you're like, crap, girls talk shit just as bad as dudes talk shit. You know, they deal with a lot of the same crap we do. This episode's going really long, guys. But, you know, good conversation. You can't put a stop clock on. All right? You can't do that. Nate, you're going to break my heart, dude.
Oh, I don't think so. I'm doing something different.
Oh, okay.
On this one. See, we were going to read the back of the...
Oh, crap, we didn't do that, did we?
We didn't. But on the back of the VHS cover... there's a quote on there.
Okay.
And the quote is "Nightmare on CD-ROM." And that comes from one Roger Ebert.
Oh.
Fellas.
Wow, and he trashed this
Did
movie
Ebert
too.
like this?
No.
I have hunted down the Ebert review.
Oh, good.
Oh, bring it.
The first time we have ever done an actual
Ebert.
professional
A professional.
Can I push the button, though, because I know what the review is?
Go ahead and push the button.
I'm the trash man. I come out, I throw trash all over the ring. And then I start eating garbage. And then I pick up the trash can and I bash the guy on the head.
Oh, that's going to be a disaster.
He gave this movie 2 stars back on April 22nd.
Out of 3, right?
1994. Definitely out of 3. I mean, we didn't have 5 stars back
I
in
thought
the
it was
day.
5 stars with Cisco.
I have no idea.
It was
I thought
5.
You did the thumbs.
It was probably 5.
It was thumbs up, thumbs down, but it was 5. It was 5 stars.
The things were cheaper back then.
Right. They had more
Any
time.
movie about computers starts out with a technical problem. How exciting can it be to show someone sitting at a keyboard and staring at a screen? Brainscan, a movie about a teenager who gets trapped inside a deadly computer game, solves the problem by providing the trickster, a cadaverous character who looks something like Alice Cooper on the third day of the wake. The trickster
On the wake, I like that.
materializes from a CD-ROM computer game, or says he does, and hangs around the kid's room, sticking his finger in an electric socket for entertainment.
That was funny.
The kid's name is Michael. He's played by Edward Furlong of Terminator 2, Judgment Day. And like a lot of teenagers, he has carved out a corner of the family home at his private domain. It's the attic, where he has thousands of dollars worth of equipment, including a fast computer with state-of-the-art audio-visual capabilities.
So he's paid per word, right? Okay,
He is,
keep going.
yes.
You know he is.
And a remote-controlled video camera that can spy on the teenage girl next door and send the picture to a handy TV monitor. Teenagers are really getting lazy when they can't even peek out through the blinds themselves.
See, he knew.
Michael is a video game buff with
Oh
a
my
subsidiary interest in horror films. When he's
How many
caught showing a
pages is this?
violent
I saw him
slasher
just getting ready to
film
ask that.
to his high school class, he's hauled up in front of the principal, who sternly demands the title of the film, Death, Death.
Is this a synopsis? What are you doing?
Michael
He's paid
says
per
sullenly,
word.
Part 2. What these movies are basically offering is a digitized update on those dream sequences and fantasy scenes in old horror movies. When the hero wakes up sweaty and gasping, does it matter if it was only a dream or only a CD-ROM video game? Brainscan is interesting, not so much because of the plot, the murders, and the trickster, as because it's a portrait of a teenage boy living at one remove from the world. The computer provides him with his interface with reality, so that, in a sense, he is the game. I had a sinking feeling during the scene where he trains his video camera on the girl next door and feeds his signal into a monitor. In his mind, I fear he was thinking not what a bod, but what a signal.
What?
Not once does he mention the quote on the back of the VHS. I'm very confused.
Which one is Siskel and which one's Ebert? Which one's the skinny one and which one's the portly
Siskel's the skinny one.
Okay, so what I watched the video of from Siskel
Oh,
and Ebert.
the old videos? Yeah.
The video of them talking about, this is where they did the thumbs up, thumbs down. Siskel goes, once the trickster showed up, I couldn't watch the movie anymore. I was out. And Ebert looks at me and goes, oh, so you're already a thumbs down? Yep, thumbs down. Well, I guess we can make this easy. 2 thumbs down. What is all of that novel you just read to us?
I like that he calls it a CD-ROM video game. That sounds like a vampire trying to fit in with the kids. And like, oh, you guys have any CD-ROM video games?
Hello, fellow youth. Do you have any CD-ROM? Pete, you're thinking really hard right now.
I want to know where the quote came from now.
I'm not kidding. So the TV show was like, we got 30 minutes to review X amount of movies, right?
Right. Yep.
Yeah, like a ton of movies.
Thumbs down? Great. Thumbs down.
Right.
But for the Chicago Tribune or whomever Ebert was writing for, that was per word, and that's why he flowered that thing up.
Oh my God. Like
that was
he talks about the
ridiculous.
videotape, but then references it at the end.
Yeah.
He caps it with that.
Why?
Yep.
Why did he write this novel and then went in the TV
You
show?
know what? I know what it is.
Of the medium.
I know what it is. He really did stop when the trickster showed up. So all that he talks about happens before the trickster shows up.
Fair.
So he literally quit watching the movie and
Probably
wrote
walked
a
out of the
review
movie.
about
He's
the
like,
movie.
This movie's stupid.
Wow,
whatever,
guys.
whatever.
Are we
Anyway.
are we having another anniversary for the longest episode?
Let's
think
let's
so.
let's
He
cut
comes
this
back.
I
nonsense,
didn't know
baby.
that this was going to happen. That's why I picked a really long review.
You keep thinking episodes are going to be short, man, and they never are. Yeah, and this was a
I got nothing
Charlie
else going on.
nostalgia. Like I made sure I had notes.
80% of this
And
episode is not
That's just
about
a
the
flip
movie.
book that you're showing us of the trickster dancing.
Maybe. Actually, I have the end quote that I wanted to say later. So
All
I'll
right,
save it. It's one of my favorite lines.
Is it get a grip?
No. No, it's one of my other favorite ones. All right, everyone's tired of hearing about us.
Let's roll.
You know where to find us. We're on all the social media sites. You know who's in there. Networks. Go listen to one of our older shows. You'll hear them all, but we're running long, so I'm not even going to play them all.
Nope.
Nate, I'm getting us out of here with the good word.
Indeed.
All right, do this.
No country western music, please. Every man has his limits.
Now,
It's a good one.
let's talk about how I get back home.